Our new partner who I'm really, really excited to announce we are working with. Super, super stoked. Thank you, Angie Huberman, for this connect. It's incredible. AG1 Athletic Greens. I've been using them for a while. I have them every morning on an empty stomach. Basically, take one scoop and you put it into a cup or glass or mug of 8 ounces of cold water. And this is all your greens for the day. You're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. Every day I take this. It's so good for my digestion, my energy. It's simple. It's easy. I don't like taking a lot of vitamins. This has been really, really helpful for me. I've had a lot of stomach issues my whole life, and ever since I've been gluten-free and taking the AG1s, it's really helped me in my stomach in the mornings. I love it, and I'm so psyched that they're part of the One Life One Chance podcast. I'm sure a lot of people don't like eating greens, let alone drinking your greens, but I can tell you straight up, it's got a mild tropical taste, and the taste is actually really refreshing, and I really look forward to it each morning. Don't think it's just going to be just straight bland. It tastes really, really good, and it's good for you, so remember that. This one blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. It's incredible, just one scoop, especially for musicians who are vegans or just musicians in general who want to get those daily greens. You can get the packets. It's incredible. I just gave some to my friend Derek from Sepultura. He traveled the whole entire world this summer, and he had those every single day. He said it saved him. I bring AG1s with me when I travel. It helps me stay healthy. You know the deal. If you're on tour and you are a picky eater, but you need to have your greens, sometimes catering doesn't have greens. Sometimes you miss the catering. Sometimes you miss the backstage food. Sometimes it's too late after the show to go get food that you like. So if you just have a scoop of AG1s in your hotel room before you go to bed, or you're in the hotel room at night and you're starving and you want something healthy, boom, life changer. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with some convenient daily nutrition. That's all you need, one scoop in a cup every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. This is it. I'm super psyched. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/OLLC. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/OLLC to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. This is incredible. I love it. It's just basic greens. For me personally, this has changed my life tremendously. I'm not a junk food vegan. I don't eat a lot of fake meats, so I'm strictly greens. And this has been a wonderful, wonderful new addition to my life. So once again, visit athleticgreens.com/OLLC. and get 1 free year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. athleticgreens.com/OLOC. Yo, Liquid Death, thank you so much for hydrating all my guests, taking care of me and my family and my friends. Love your water, love your brand, love what you stand for, love what you give back to the community. If you want to learn more about Liquid Death and how it started, listen to episode 115 with the co-founder, owner, and creator of Liquid Death, Mike Cesario. Just a punk rock skateboarding kid from Delaware with a dream. It's an incredible story, incredible journey. They have now blessed me with my own code. So if you go liquiddeath.com/Toby, you get free shipping on any items you order from liquiddeath.com. Thank you so much, Liquid Death. Death to plastic, murder your thirst. Stay hydrated. You know H2O saves lives. Check.
Check.
Welcome to the One Life, One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. Today I have a very, very, very old friend of mine from many, many moons ago. Probably, I want to say, before we even started really officially like having groups and touring and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My man, Mr. John Sabac Fuentes. Can I call you that?
You can call me that.
Sabac Red?
Yes,
I always
sir.
used to call you Sabac. I never called you Sabac Red, but I realized it was the rap name.
Yeah, that's the rap name. You know what's funny is there are some people that don't even call me John. They call me Fuentes.
Oh, shit,
Yeah.
okay.
Fuentes.
I'm
like, okay.
And then, so now it's crazy. Like, I love the podcast because obviously we know each other for a long time. But then when you actually like do a deep dive on somebody, like, oh my God, really? Like, I didn't realize that you were born in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I was born in Guaynabo, Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I was hoping you pronounced that, not me.
Yeah. Guaynabo. It became actually famous for the good old Donald Trump throwing paper towels. If you remember, he was throwing them out. It was all over the news when they had the major.
That's what that was?
Yeah, that was in Guaynabo.
Wow.
Yeah, I was born in Guaynabo.
Well, you weren't there that long either, were you?
I was only there for a short period of time. My mom, went to Puerto Rico And on a vacation, met my dad, fell in love, and then went there, and then had my sister and I.
Yeah, you guys have twin sisters.
I have a twin
I didn't realize you had a
sister.
twin sister either. Man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So born in Puerto Rico, and then we migrated out to Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah, why Brooklyn?
That's why my grandmother, who's Sicilian.
Yeah.
That's where she was. My aunt. Most of my family.
Italian in Brooklyn, it's hard.
Sicilian in Brooklyn, hardcore. Growing up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I mean, on the same block, right? So anything that you would see stereotypically on the movie of like a block with
Bronx Tale?
like the aunt lives down the block, the fire hydrants, loud stick ball, like hey, bicycle riding, stoop ball, wiffle ball. That's how I grew up. I remember my grandmother would we'd be out like late night in the summertime, and my grandmother would make pasta e olio, which is like spaghetti, garlic, and olive oil, like a huge pot, and bring out paper plates, and everyone would eat. Yeah. That's how I grew up.
I know, like the hallways smelling like food, or the hallways of the apartment buildings, stuff like that. Like,
yeah.
Just like the movies.
Exactly.
And so, was your sister in the same stuff you were growing up?
Yeah, she actually was. What's funny is growing up, we were kind of the same size. Like I'm not necessarily the most, tallest person in the world, because I had to share a lot of like the nutrients in my mom's womb. Right, you got to share as a twin.
That's a good point.
Right, so actually at some point we actually saved up money to buy our first pair of shell toe Adidas. So we would share that. They were a little tighter on me, but they fit. And I remember, and we would b-boy and b-girl together. We would wrestle. We were both into wrestling. She would be Superfly Jimmy Snuka. I would be like Bob Backlund or Tito Santana. Iron Mike Sharp. We'd jump off the dresser. My mom would lose it because my mom raised us by herself. I never really knew my dad. I met him later on in 2001 when I went to Puerto Rico to do like a journey to meet him for the first time.
Oh, wow. But he came to New York with you?
No.
Okay.
He came for a short period of time because I remember seeing pictures, but he didn't live with us. So I didn't, fatherhood for me was like, I didn't have a blueprint. I had my Uncle Joe who was there, took me to Yankee games, and, I had some mentors, but I didn't grow up with a dad.
Wow.
So, yeah. So that was, So my sister was into similar things. Then eventually we veered off, and I did my own thing, and she did hers. But we would break dance and go wake up in the morning, look for cardboard boxes.
But super young, too, like maybe 12 years old or something?
Yeah.
What was your exposure to that, just where you were growing up?
Exposure to
hip-hop and the culture and all that, graffiti
absolutely.
And all that,
Yeah. It was very interesting because you'd hear like IROX or Cutlass Supremes pumping out like Public Enemy and Run DMC and around that. Even at school, right, I had some really, really great friends, Keith and Kevin, right, who were twins, and then Derek and Eric, who were twins.
What?
Derek and Eric grew up in Marlboro houses, and Keith and Kevin grew up in Coney Island.
Keith and Kevin,
Derek and Eric. Yes, and then they eventually, Kevin and myself ended up being in a group together called Pieces of the Puzzle back when I first started, messing with MC Search back then, which we'll get into in a little bit as a journey. But they were all sets of twins, which was crazy.
That is so crazy, into the same shit.
Absolutely, and we went to PS 97. And elementary school in Brooklyn, in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. I grew up in Gravesend, which kind of neighbors Bensonhurst, and then Coney Island. Yeah. And then Marlboro Houses, which is one of the largest housing projects in Brooklyn, was right there.
Yeah.
And so they would rap, they would MC, and then I started doing it, and then freestyling, and I wrote some lyrics and try to battle, and it was okay. Not until I got into middle school was I really able to start like, battling and feeling like I can hold my own. But they were the ones who really encouraged me. Yeah. And it was dope.
What was your influence? Was Run DMC a big influence back then?
Huge influence.
Obviously the Shell
Run
Toes,
DMC, the Fat Boys,
Yeah.
And I remember years later, we'll get into it, we had a chance, Non Phixion, my group had a chance to open up for Run DMC.
Yeah, I have it in my notes.
At Tramps. Oh, yeah, we'll get into that.
That's so cool, though. I thought about that, too. Like, that's amazing.
You want to hear funny? Tell me, I'm thinking about my elementary school, and I might have mentioned this before, but I think you'll appreciate this. In elementary school, right? So Maceo from De La Soul went to my elementary school. He was older than I was, but his brother Anthony Mason was in my class, and we had a breakdancing crew called the Automatic Breakers. Sick. And something people often don't believe me, not until I saw Maceo in the city one time with my brother DV Elias Christ. Yeah. They were together. Did I say, Maceo? I said, do you remember when Kiss came and performed at PS 97? He said, what? I tell that story, no one believes me. I was like, thank goodness, unless you went to that school. So Gene Simmons was like dating like the secretary of PS97 and came up. I'm talking the boots, the blood out of the tongue, the whole nine. Kiss came to perform
for his lady,
at
basically.
my elementary school, dude.
It
was
insane.
insane.
That's probably scary too. That's intense. Back then.
I have reoccurring nightmares, but I don't call them nightmares anymore because I would think it's special. I'm like, oh, that's a dream. But sick. Anyway, that's PS97.
That's incredible. Like just on the strength of like his love interest. Like, oh, maybe you should come to school and see the kids.
Yeah, scared the shit out of elementary school kids.
That's an insane moment. Mm-hmm. What year was that? So that's
in the 70s, like 77, bro. 78. Yeah, exactly.
Were you into rock music too back then, anything like that, or no?
You know, a little bit of rock. I had friends who were listening to like Metallica and Maiden, and I remember the Eddie posters in some of my friends' like rooms and things like that. But I was mostly listening to like what was on the radio, you know. And my mom had records, but the records she had would be like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Rat Pack type things, and Dot and Della Italian records. But I grew up listening to, you know, Madonna, Cyndi Lauper, like a lot of pop music, Michael Jackson, etc. And then some exposure to rock I got into from friends who were listening to it. Some of them had garage bands. Those who actually didn't live in the apartments but lived in houses had garage bands, and they play and rock out. So I was exposed, but I didn't really get into it as much. Yeah.
But so you're battling, you're breakdancing, you're doing graffiti. Yeah. You're graffitiing too, right?
I did, but I was terrible.
What was your name? What was your tag?
Sabac.
Okay.
Yep, Sabac.
Gotcha. And where does that come from?
It comes from, like, you know, back when you indulge and you want to smoke a little bit. You know, it's like, let's go smoke a blunt and chill.
Oh,
it's like code word.
I never even knew that.
Hey, let's go smoke a blunt and chill. I'm like, hey, you know.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Philly's blunt.
Yeah, exactly. And then it meant, like, you know, stop all bullshit and chill. At one point, it meant stop appointing Bush and Cheney back in that era.
You can flip it to everything.
It flipped into everything. And then, you know what's crazy? Not until about maybe, and I should have known this, but not until like maybe 10, 11 years ago, I found out Sabac is someplace in like Serbia.
Really?
Like if you just Google Sabac without putting the red, it's like a place in Serbia somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
It's crazy. Never knew that too.
Yeah.
You ever been to Serbia?
No, never.
I've never been there either, actually.
I think I found out when I was trying to set up a MySpace page, and actually I was on tour. I don't remember what DJ Rhett helped me set up my MySpace page. We were on some tour. I don't remember what it was. MySpace. Anyway, yeah. So, and I was like, oh, yeah. So it's more than 11 years ago. I was like, Sabac is in Serbia? What?
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was wild.
And so how were you in school? Like, what did you want to do? Like, what was your goals? Did you have any goals then?
Yeah, I wanted to be a second baseman for the New York Yankees. Wow. Willie Randolph was like my hero.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's that's what I wanted to do. And I remember maybe 9th grade freshman year, I remember this guy on my block. His name was Michael Buckner. I remember he was older than us, and he was like, "Hey, John, let's go. I need some help with work today." He had a van and would like do deliveries of before Amazon, but like for some companies like that. So I cut class and went, and turns out like he went through one of the barricades that they have at the school, the horse, like they call the blue horses, like, you know, the police lines.
Yeah.
So they put an APB on the van, and they pulled us over, and they took me and him in to the precinct. Right? Yeah, it's crazy. It's the 62nd precinct. And what school do you go to? I said I had to call my mom, and they called my baseball coach, Joe Gambuza, Mr. Gambuza, and he said, "Listen, you can't do this. I'm going to vouch for this kid. He's a good kid. Poor choices. Let's get him back." And I started failing. I was listening like License to Ill around that time, and like just doing, you know, freshman stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember I had to make up some credits because I couldn't play baseball without it. And he said, "Well, you need to take some electives. So what else do you do?" I said, "Well, I break dance." He was like, "There's a dance class we have. Teaches Miss Colasanto. Go to speak to Miss Colasanto and tell her that I sent you and that you need to take this class because you need to make a class or else you're not playing second base."
Wow.
So I went and did it. And Miss Colasanto, shout out to her, she said, "Well, what kind of dancing do you?" I said, "Well, I do break dance." She goes, "That's great, but I'm also going to challenge you. And you're going to do Alvin Ailey Revelations. And I'm going to introduce you to Martha Graham. And I'm going to introduce you to other forms of dance."
Wow.
So I started learning the choreography for that as well. And they also gave me the opportunity to do my B-boys. But not just B-boying, but also hip-hop dancing. Like, I was doing like Greg Nice dances, you know? Like, you know.
Kid and play.
Yeah. Exactly. And that actually helped save me. And, you know, that helped actually steer me. Eventually, Miss Colasanto, she believed in my talent and stuff and said, "Hey, there's an audition for this group out in Jamaica, Queens." A friend of mine named Chris Curry, who is a manager and managing groups out of Jamaica, Queens, go audition. And I remember I let my mom know when we got on the train from Coney Island, went all the way to Jamaica Queen, last stop, Merrick Boulevard, Archer Boulevard. And I auditioned. I ended up getting it. Right?
Wow.
And this was crazy because this was a group of, it was like a mini Gladys Knight in the Pips, right?
Yeah.
And I was the only white passing person. I'm Puerto Rican Sicilian, so white passing
Yeah.
in the group. And I was the rapper of the group.
Wow.
And it was a girl named Tamiko who was the lead singer. And then my boy Cedric, shout out to Cedric Lochner, who was a singer. And then we had a couple of other singers in the group. Long story short, we ended up like doing shows all around like the Arc in Brooklyn and Jamaica, Queens.
What was it called?
Focus.
Okay.
There was like a show called Big Break that Natalie Cole hosted out here in LA. They flew us out to LA to do some stuff, and like we were doing parodies, and we were on TV on CBS. I think the show came on, and
wow,
it was kind of crazy. And then crazy part too, we actually performed that Mark Jackson, who played for the New York Knicks at that time.
Oh wow.
His wife is Desiree Coleman. She was an R&B singer. And our manager was the same manager. So we performed at like Mark Jackson's wedding, the reception in like Jamaica, Queens.
That's incredible,
at the Pyramid. Mysteries it turned into. It's called Mysteries. It was a venue in Jamaica, Queens. Sitting like my mom took me sitting like right across from Patio Bell. It was crazy. So there's like all this history that I have that not many people know of. But yeah, so it was a lot of that. But that stuff saved my life, man.
Why? Because you could have been in the streets wilding out too, right? Yeah.
I could have been. I mean, that was the era, Toby, where like, even in my neighborhood, oftentimes when you think about, the drug, crack cocaine in the 80s and things like that, it's like, oh, it doesn't happen in these particular neighborhoods. And it was more undercover,
Yeah.
So it could have gone either way. But, I had a really supportive family and friends, and definitely the teachers and mentors in my life that allowed that kind of process.
Yeah, the fact you remember all their names, everything says a lot about them. You know
huge,
what I mean?
Huge.
And so, yeah, so you wanted to do baseball, but how quick did that change to music? Like before you graduated?
Yeah, that was great. So I continued. I finished my JV varsity. I didn't even try out for varsity because I was so deep into the music at that point. I had auditioned for the group, and now we started doing shows, and we were opening up for like Keith Sweat, Ray Goodman and Brown, and like crazy, if people are familiar, I'm not sure, but there was a group called the Poindexter Brothers who wrote It's a Thin Line Between Love and Hate. They're the original writers.
Wow.
It's a thin line, right? They were our vocal coaches, and like we're doing shows. So we started doing this stuff, and I was
you're making money too.
And we're making some money, right?
Yeah.
We did the Apollo Theater, and it was like, and I got all these VHS tapes that I need to transfer digitally.
Sure,
it's crazy.
Dude, it's awesome.
Yeah, I was inspired by Kid 90 by Salim Fry because I've got all this footage because I was the one who always carried my camera around, and I got a stockpile that she inspired me on that.
It's an incredible documentary, by the way.
Yeah, it's so good, that documentary. She's incredible.
Beautiful, man. All the people in there, I'm sure you got crazy footage.
Oh, yeah. So I got a lot of footage, and but at that point I started really delving into music more and more and more. And then
were you writing a lot?
I was writing. Yep, I was writing because, again, even though we getting produced songs by Full Force, if you're familiar, full crazy. We were in Battery Studios, and like Tribe Called Quest was recording their first album.
I see pictures of you back there.
There you go. But it looks like a flat top. Yeah. So we were in the Battery Studios,
Wow.
So we were when you saw that picture, we were there, and Q-Tip and Fife, and then we're in the studio, in the room next door, Battery Studios.
Were you a big fan at the time too?
Huge, absolutely. El Segundo was the only thing that was out at that time, and I just remember loving it, and hearing like Q-Tip on Red Alert's, promo, and it was just, it was incredible. So I just kept doing that. And then after high school, I went to, junior college for like a short time. And I was like, I'm not really into it. I don't know what I want to do.
What was your major there? You had a major?
I just liberal studies, just taking classes.
Yeah.
So then I transferred because my mom was like, go to school, et cetera. So I went to a recording engineering school.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what I ended up doing. And I went to IAR, right over there by NYU, right there on University Place. And I got an internship at the New Music Seminar.
Yep.
And that's when I started working at the New Music Nights department of the New Music Seminar, which was up in Tommy Boy Records.
Yep.
And I remember that was the year that House of Pain had their first album, Naughty by Nature, Arrested Development, because I would get the
92,
cassettes.
I think.
Yeah, 92. I would get the cassettes, and me and this woman, Melanie, who was at the time, and I can't remember, but Melanie was dope. She had locks, and she was in A&R, and she was like, John, come in. So I was hyped, stuffing envelopes and getting these advanced tapes, and then setting up and stuffing the lanyards for people's like night festival, right? So doing all that stuff, and you know, seeing De La walking in because they were Tommy Boy, etc. And then going into getting all the free passes for the night festivals, the new music nights. Yeah. So that was pretty dope. That's actually one of the first times I met MC Search. So that was also a good trajectory. So it's almost like this non-coincidental like trajectory of things that were happening to me and for me that I was like, this feels right. So I was just following my heart.
Yeah, and you worked at Wild Pitch too. Was that a subsidiary of a major label? What was Wild Pitch?
Wild Pitch was the label. It was a label. I don't remember who distributed it.
No?
It was somewhat independent. Yeah, they had major distribution, but Wild Pitch, that was not until like 1994.
That was later on. Okay.
Yeah, that was later on in 1994.
Because we worked together before 94, or we did work in 94. Because you had the advanced cassette of Illmatic.
Correct. I had the advanced. Yep. I would bring it to Nana, and yeah, that's
what years was that?
That was 93.
Okay,
or so.
That's right.
I started working at Nana around the same time that I was also doing some internship at the New Music Seminar. Like I was multitasking because. The other important part of the story is City Kids Foundation.
Was that in there or between? Is that before Nana or after Nana?
There's right like on the cusp at the
so
City Kids Foundation. The City Kids Foundation was before Nana because the person who was my mentor and one of the people who had me stay at City Kids was Malik Yoba.
Malik Yoba, that's right.
Right. So Malik,
New York PD was at New York
Undercover.
Woo,
Cool Runnings, New York Undercover.
Yes.
So Malik Yoba was the vice president of the City Kids Foundation.
Got you.
City Kids Foundation was a youth organization established in like 1985, 86.
Okay.
Keith Haring designed their logo.
Wow.
They're actually having right now for NFT Week in New York City, the Liberty banner, which is like hanging in the Marriott marquee in the atrium. Because Keith Haring did in 1986 called the Liberty Banner, where he had a whole bunch of kids like do the Statue of Liberty for the 100th anniversary and write names. And now they're going to create that. I'm sitting on the board of City Kids now. They just asked me to be on the board.
Amazing, man.
But anyway,
it's still going.
It's still going. They're doing some great stuff. But that's a place that also helped really change, pivot, and save my life.
You too, everything. Yeah.
Like I went there as a youth. My boy Jose Cruz. Shout out to Jose. He said, "Hey, I go to this organization. I had to do some community service."
Yep.
Right. So I went there, and
what was that for? Just getting in trouble?
Train station stuff, you know, typical New York stuff. Like, what do you do? So I'm like, okay, I'll go to City Kids with you. So I went downstairs to the basement. It was on 57 Leonard Street, across the street from the Knitting Factory, if you remember the Knitting Factory in the city.
Great venue.
And I remember going downstairs in the basement. I was like, what's this? You know, and it was a great space that they had. And in a circle was like 50 to 60 young people and young adults from the ages of like 12 to like 18 or so talking about racism. And I was like, okay. And then after the discussion was happening, they were unpacking all this concept of like, how do you show up in the face of racism, et cetera. There was an incident that took place in the Bronx that year where a couple of white kids painted a black kid's face with shoe polish white. So it was this whole thing going on. So they were discussing it and unpacking it. And I was like, this is dope. It feels good.
Did you do racism being Puerto Rican and Italian too, living in your neighborhood, loving hip hop? Was that a thing too?
Oh man, lots of it. I was called the N lover by some of the quote unquote Guidos in the neighborhood because I was listening to hip hop.
Because when you said IROC's playing Public Enemy, that itself is crazy because that isn't the typical music would come out of IROC, stereotypical back then. But that shows you the impact of Public Enemy too, bringing different people. You even might have said this to me, like from different neighborhoods together.
Absolutely, it's definitely the migration. And they would call me, oh, here comes Al Sharpton, here comes Martin Luther King, because I wouldn't hold back. I would tell like people that I would hang out with, like, dude, you can't say that. Like that's like I was like, how are you going to say that when you're pumping Public Enemy, who's like talking about like injustice, social justice, and all of that. And I didn't necessarily have all that language at the time, but I was saying, hey, dude, you can't. And they're like, oh, here comes Malcolm, blah, blah, blah. And I still held my own.
Yeah.
Lots of teachable moments. And actually, Yusuf Hawkins was a big pivoting time too. Yusuf Hawkins got murdered in Bensonhurst, right? Yeah. And I remember that happened. And my English teacher, John Reale, asked us to write an essay. And I ended up writing a rap, and it won first place in New York City.
Oh, wow.
It was called Racial Prejudice Affects Us All. I got an award from the Brooklyn Borough President. That was actually, Toby, a time where I realized I can use my voice. Other than I was writing like misogynistic lyrics. I was like, battling, bravado, like, et cetera. And I was like, oh, wait, I can write this and be recognized for it and validated for it. So that was a big deal when Yusuf Hawkins got murdered. And it really impacted me. I remember watching news like, how could this be? Yeah. And how could this be? And he was murdered by people that I felt like, not that literally my friends, but they look like my friends that I hung out with, like Italians and like, I'm like, oh man, this doesn't feel right. It was like, oh. So anyway, there was a lot of, so that was a hard year. But anyway, we did that, and I realized I can use my voice for something else. And then City Kids helped continue nurture that. But when you talk about the work, it's like, I remember leaving that day. I was ready to just leave. I did my day of community service, my few hours. And before I walked out the door, I heard, hey, wait, yo, where you going? Come here. What's your name again? I said, John. He was like, well, what do you do? And this was Malik Yoba. He didn't let me leave the door because I was an unfamiliar face who came for the first time without really taking an interest of who are you? And he was amazing. Like, and I told him what I do. And he was like, well, what are you doing tomorrow? It's Saturday. I was like, nothing, chilling. He was like, I want you here by 10 o'clock. We have a repertory company. I want you to see if you can pen some lyrics for a song we're going to do called What You're Going to Do About Hate. And we got like this mural that we're going to do out in Harlem and et cetera. Wow. And I was like, whoa. And I came back. I didn't leave ever since.
That is amazing.
Like, it was like they had coalition meetings, trained me on facilitation, theater groups. That's where I met Dash, my brother from another mother. I met Dash there, and lots of other amazing, lots of talent, and lots of really actually people you'll see on TV right now, artists and et cetera. Funny story is I did a play with Lauryn Hill before she blew up with the Fugees. She was in a play called Heal the Rainbow in City Kids. So we would be practicing.
She was part of City Kids.
She was part of City Kids for a short minute for this play that we did called Heal the Rainbow. Okay. And I remember her freestyling. I was like, oh, look, you can rhyme. And all that. She was like, oh, yeah. She was doing like segments of All My Children at the time and Sister Act 2.
Wow.
And then I remember we were working at Nana, and we'll get to this, but she came in with Praz and one of their stylists and said, what's up? And gave me a hug. Was like, I think she copped some Doc Martens or whatever for the video. And said, come to the video, come through, blah, blah, blah. I didn't go, but I remember, I was like, oh, she remembered. It was from the Blunted on Reality. That project right there. So it was an amazing experience.
That is insane, man.
Yeah.
Just the timing everywhere you were, too, like, especially in New York at that especially hip-hop back then, everything was coming out. Like, this is such a amazing time to be there and be part of that.
Yeah,
it seems like you absorbed it all. Like, you took everything, you sponged it, like everything you like, and it saved your life. Like, literally, kids, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think all those from like my coach to the dance class to the group Focus, right, to City Kids to Nana to like all these moments. I feel like is a continuation of therapy and healing, right? For whatever trauma, vicariously or directly, that I've experienced or whatever, that's it's part of the journey, man.
Yeah. So you had City Kids before Nana.
City Kids before Nana, and I told Malik I was looking for a job, and he said, "Oh, I know this place called Nana." And then
he was friends with Danica and them too.
He was friends with Christine Tabone. Right. So he set up an interview. Shout out to Christine, Danica, Yolanda, Bonnie, the whole crew.
Dude.
That's
crazy.
Yeah, that was a crazy era. And I remember going for the interview and going up the round spiral staircase and sitting on an interview with Danica.
The office was up top.
So it was up top with the windows and doing interview, and then got the phone call that you got the job.
You worked there before I worked there, I think, right?
I think a little bit before you worked there.
I got that job, man. That was like the best job I had. It was like for 4 years.
It was great. Me too. And what's funny? As I would leave, and then I'm like, as an artist, right? We'd leave, and then I'm like, I need a job again. And you guys looking for help? Take you back. Like, let's go.
Yeah, I definitely remember Madonna coming in there. There was some crazy. There was all kinds of people coming to that spot, man.
Yeah.
Because at that time, like, it's kind of crazy because Doc Martens was usually it was in the punk world first, but then became in the hip hop too. I remember Onyx, everybody's wearing flight jackets, everybody shaving their heads and wearing Docs, like all that crossover. And Doc Martens blew up, dude. It was just like everybody was rocking them.
Yes.
We get to listen to everybody wanting there, like lots of everything. But you definitely rocked the Omatic cassette before it came out.
Because I was getting MC Search. Because Search and I met at the New Music Nights. I didn't know him, and then we met one time at one of the festivals, and I was like, what's up, Search, blah, 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 talking, and he wanted me to battle David Falastino from, what's his name? Bud Bundy. David Falastino was rapping back then. And
he was from the show?
From the show, yeah.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
He was hosting one of the events at the night that Search was at.
Holy shit.
He rhymed. And Search was like, you want to be down with me? I was like, well, I know you have KMD. You mess with this one.
Did you like Third Base too at the time?
Yeah, of course. I was a big Third Base fan. And he was like, then go battle Bud Bundy. I was like, done, let's go. And he was like, nah, you good. I just wanted to see if you wanted to do it, if you would really do it. And he was with Sake Love at the time too. And and that's how I met him. But then he was like, okay, give me your number. And he never called me, right? I had to meet him like 4 times after that before he finally gave me a call back, Search. Like I had to meet him a bunch of times after that. We met in an audition once for a show called B-Boys that Russell Simmons and Quincy Jones put together.
Yeah.
And I remember going in an audition with Onyx and Chill from Groove Be Chill. I remember in my audition they called me in, and there was one part for a kid named DJ 2020, and it was for this white kid, and it was between me and MC Search. Wow. So I remember they called me in for a final kind of audition, and it was me, one of the UMCs. I don't remember which MC it was. UMCs and Busta Rhymes. And Busta Rhymes beatboxed for me while I was actually doing the rap in front of Russell Simmons videotape. Like Russell Simmons has footage, VHS like footage somewhere of me rapping with Busta Rhymes beatboxing and the kid from UMCs, the MC from UMCs.
And he's in Leaders of the New School at that time,
Leaders of the New School, exactly. And there was mad rappers going out there, Mos Def, Onyx, and it came down to 6 people for the final audition.
Yeah.
And it was Mos Def, I remember his name was Dante, right? So it was Mos Def, Yasmin Bey, right? It was Fredro Starr. It was Donald Faison, who actually ended up becoming friends with later on through City Kids. Okay. Who was on Clueless and Scrubs and all that.
I know that guy. Yeah,
that's Dash and I. That's a boy too. MC Search and then Chill from Groove Be Chill and me. And of course, who's producing it, right? Mm-hmm. Russell Simmons. It's and Quincy Jones.
Yeah.
Search got the part, right? And maybe he did better than me. I don't know. I like to think I kind of nailed it, but it's all good. And Search is more famous than I was and probably rocked it, right? So he got the part. And that's when I saw him again. I was like, all right, peace, I'll see you. Gave him my number, didn't call me. Nothing. I'm like, all right, whatever. My boy M-Try did a show in Brooklyn, New York, and Search was the main act, and M-Try was opening up. And he was like, Bach, come through, support me, get on stage, freestyle. So I did, because that's my brother. And we did it, and I freestyled, and then Search remembered me, and he was with DJ Clips and Riz.
Clips.
And Search afterwards, during his set, was like, freestyle, come on stage and freestyle. So I came on stage and freestyled. And then at the end of the show, told the Clips, hey, Search wants to talk to you. He wants your number. I said, for what? I gave him my number like 4 times already. He's not going to call me. So Search actually took my number and then called me. I was getting off a train coming from Nana, actually. And I remember my mom said, hey, some guy Search called. He said, call him back. So I called him back. And he was like, hey, what are you doing? Coming off from work. I just got off the N train, Kings Highway. And he said, if you want to be down, come to the studio right now. I'm in Long Island.
Keep saying that.
If you want to be down, okay, come to Long Island. I said, what's the address? And I'm hungry, man. I'm like, this is MC Search. He goes, yeah, I'm in the studio with my new artist, OC. And I was like, OC?
Life.
Right? I was like, OC from Fudge Pudge? Organized Confusion? Yep. All right, let's go. So I called my boy Albie. Shout out to Albie. He's the only one I knew that had a car at that time. I was like, can you take me to Long Island? Let's go. It's 40 ounces or whatever, Yeah. He was like, I'm driving, but, So we went there, and they're searching the studio with OC, and OC was just like, shout outs to OC.
Incredible, man. Underrated. Word Life's incredible album front to back, and I don't hear his name get mentioned at all, man.
He's so brilliant, man. So brilliant. And that record, and then, Time's
Listen to
Up.
That now, Time's Up. Everything on the,
Yeah, I remember I brought the stickers. It's incredible. Shouts to Buck Wild.
I want to go on record saying that it was probably you that played that record for me.
Yeah.
I heard that record from you because you probably played it in Nana.
Absolutely, I did, because I would get you're welcome. Absolutely. Thank you, OC. I would get the promo copies. And Live to Die. Woohoo! The remix by DJ Clips is hard, too. I don't know if you ever heard that. Okay, so that was in Studio OC. Me, my boy Albie, Search, OC, some of his folks ended up going into the booth and doing a chorus for one of the songs. And it was dope. And Search saw that I was committed. So from there, I told Search that I'm in a group called Pieces of the Puzzle with my boy Kevin Barnes, one of the twins. So he said, I'll produce y'all. So we would go out to Cedarhurst, Long Island, on the Long Island Railroad, and write rhymes in the studio. And Search would be like, listen, I got to bounce. I got to go to studio. I got the rapping Nas. I was like, Nasty Nas. I was like, oh, okay. So he would go and leave and go check out Nas. Is that before
Live at the Barbecue?
That was same Live at the Barbecue app. So I knew, and I was like, oh. And then I remember one time we were up in the attic writing rhymes, and Eclipse was living with Search at the time. So Eclipse was producing a lot of our. This is before nonfiction. This is just me with Kevin Barnes, and he came with the Represent
Wow.
Like demo, and he was like, I'm playing it for you just because this is the greatest, incredible stuff I've ever heard in my life. And he plays it, and I'm just like, damn. Oh my God, tore up the whole like page of rhymes, threw it in the garbage. I'm like, I can't, you know.
It was just the one song Represent he played for you?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
dude.
it was like, whoa. And then, you know, eventually I helped out, got Nasty Nas stickers. Went to, you know,
I remember that.
bombing them and bringing the advanced copy, not the demos because I didn't have it, but the advanced, like little promos. Back and then they would have promos.
Totally.
I brought them to Nana, played it for you guys, and Word Life, the same thing. Word Life is the reason why me and Ill Bill met. Bill saw me. Ill Bill, like he was working with his dad. His dad's spot called Rugged and Fat Jeans over in Broadway, where the Unique used to be.
I remember Rugged, maybe.
Rugged Jeans, yeah. So I remember, and I went in there. I was like, hey, man, you know, you guys, I went in there shopping. After Nana, we get the checks.
Yeah.
Right? So I was doing multiple things, like interning at Wild Pitch, working at Nana, you know, City Kids. Yeah, I was hustling. Damn. And I remember going and seeing, I said, hey, you play a lot of hip-hop in here. Can you mind playing this? Word Life, OC? You know, this is, it was, I got this already. You know, Bill was like, I know what I'm talking. I was like, oh, okay, no doubt. He was like, you know, Search? You mess with Search? I was like, yeah, that's my boy. He's all right. Can you give this to him? And Bill had a piece of vinyl on a record label called Southpaw. I think that was the label, yeah. And it was a song called Dope Fiend, like just one song.
Wow.
So I brought it to Search, and I said, listen to it. And then, long story short, you know, Serge was like, okay, let's call a meeting, bring him in. And Serge and I talked about forming some kind of a group at some point. And then Bill kind of like came in and Bill was like, this is incredible. I love this. Let's do it. And then we formed Non Phixion. And Non Phixion originally was me, Serge, Eclipse, and Bill before Gore-Tex.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, that's
fucking.
Yeah.
But that happened while you were at Nana? That group formed?
Non Phixion formed in 1995. As me, Bill, Eclipse.
Because my band's first show was 94, but we didn't really have making any music till 95.
Yeah.
I was still at Nana. I made a demo tape or something too.
Yeah.
So crazy.
And I remember
man.
we'd come in and we start to play each other's like demos and songs, and just to kind of sneak it in there, kind of take the temperature of like the room to see like people digging it. But I know, at least for our stuff, it was really like hardcore, underground, like the beats were like rugged, you know, and it was like, it was some other stuff.
It's crazy, like where that went from there, and like even to having Derek here, who we reconnected because he's been living in Brazil for 20 years.
Yeah.
I knew when he joined Sepultura, I was so stoked for him.
Yeah,
We're just reminiscing about that block, Prince Street, and all the stuff there, and working.
When Stussy was down the block, and then Fat Farm opened up, and then Union was. I remember getting my paychecks from Nana. And before I can even blink, it was gone. I go to Union, I go to Stussy, I go to Fat Farm. I'm spending all my money.
Yeah, the area, man, was crazy.
It was so awesome.
I mean, I guess it was like kind of original street brand vibe. Obviously Stussy, but Fat Farm too. That was like another.
Yeah, that was incredible.
It's crazy, man.
Well, I remember just seeing Russell Simmons always pulling up.
Yeah.
And he always had a driver, and he'd get out, and I was always like, I need to go say what's up. What's up? We actually, he used to live on the top of Tower Records.
Yeah.
And and how I know that is because when we were with Non Phixion and when we started really making music, Serge brought us to his crib. And I remember he was like, yeah, this used to be Cher's crib. This is her bed. I kept the bed here. And it was like, hey, a little really interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, we were up there and he was like, rhyme. I felt like I was auditioning for like a boy band or something. So we rhymed for Russell Simmons. But that was Serge's, you know, that is his guy.
He was in the mix, man, Serge. Wow,
yeah,
man.
Serge. And he's still, he was
Nas's first stuff, Searchlight Entertainment. Like, it's like, so he doesn't put the band together, but you guys form, you meet Bill and...
Yeah, I met Bill, and then Serge, helped kind of put the band together. So it's me, Ill Bill, DJ Eclipse, and Serge.
Who came up with the name?
Serge was part of Non Phixion. Bill had talked about a group Non Phixion that they wanted to do and spelled specifically like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even Bill and Gore-Tex, they grew up listening to metal, right, and hip hop and hardcore, and they were big fans of Voivod out of Canada, and out of Montreal, Canada, and we were friends. With Dave One and Pete Doug, who now have the group Chromeo, and DJ A-Track.
Yep.
And I remember they had a connection to someone from Voivod. Montreal was like an artist, city, small city.
But you weren't a metalhead at all.
I wasn't a metalhead at all. I was hip hop, pop, reggae, dance hall music, you know. And they were, and Bill was like, I really always wanted the logo to look like a Voivod logo, but I don't want to bite. Well, no, the artist Away
Okay.
From Voivod, who did their what?
Oh, I didn't really know that.
Did the logo.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
So he's the one who did the logo and was like, I'd be honored to do it.
Damn.
So
I
he's the one.
thought
who did
about
the
it
logo.
just now, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's such a metal logo.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it. Look at this amazing box set that John gave me before the podcast.
Yeah.
Premium edition. The future is now.
Yeah.
But
and the artwork. Shout outs to Mir One, one
Mir
of the
One.
most amazing artists. Mir One.
It's very fucking. So they kind of probably open your mind more to that kind of music, right? The metal stuff.
It did. And on the Future Is Now album, we had Fear Factory. Deftones. So that's playing on it live for the CIA's Trying to Kill Me joint. So it was great. And for those who are listening that don't know, The Future Is Now was the first album that Non Phixion put out, official
2002.
album, 2002. Yeah,
but you started in '95.
We started in '95.
So you put I knew you put singles out before that.
Yeah.
And did you was there a suicidal cover in there too?
I Shot Reagan.
Yeah.
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 That went over really well. That was crazy.
It did?
Yeah, people loved it, dude.
The first thing was Legacy in 1996.
I actually think that was part of the reason why Geffen Records was like, I don't know about this anymore. Because we were signed to Geffen Records.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like 2 years, right?
Yep. Same time there was The Roots and Large Professor Killer Priest and The Genius. I think The Genius was signed there. I think there was a bunch of people that were signed to.
So you guys playing shows and building up playing shows and starting to get a good following and all that.
Yeah, we started doing grassroots. Grassroots like
Wetlands probably.
Wetlands all the time.
SOBs.
Wetlands, SOBs, Club Vinyl. I think it was a couple of other spots. Tramps.
Tramps.
Yeah. We rocked Tramps.
That was a great venue, man.
Yeah, those were awesome shows. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
But you're still working, doing everything else, still doing music. It wasn't just I'm only doing music. You're doing everything else.
Everything else, because I had to make money. At this point, I'm on my own, living by myself in Brooklyn. Yeah. 2-bedroom apartment. It's 2-family house. I was living upstairs. Old Italian landlord that kept the rent really cheap for so long. So it was awesome. But yeah, still grinding, doing all that. And then Non Phixion, we first single Legacy No Tomorrow, distributed by Fat Beats. Wow, and that became a huge part of our legacy, and our thing was Fat Beats Records, which Eclipse went on to like general manage and do all that for a year. So we continue to put out singles independently through Fat Beats distribution.
But just singles, right? Maybe, yeah.
Singles, strictly singles.
And before the internet, before all that shit, just getting it out.
Yeah. The crazy part, Toby, I remember the first time we flew overseas, Barbito. Shout out to Stretch and Barbito, because we went up there all the time as well. We had probably once every few months up a Stretch and Barbito freestyling, like going up there.
That's cool.
And
Barbito, it's a great doc as well, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. We got a little shout out at the very end.
Yeah.
But we would go up there, and then Barbito flew Non Phixion, The Arsonist, Company Flow, right?
Flow, yeah.
So LP, now Run the Jewels.
Yeah.
And Mass Influence, a couple of other artists out to Denmark to do a show. It's the first time the second time I'm flying overseas. The first time I went with Search to do the Weekender in Cambridge early on, but it's the first time as Non Phixion. We get out there and we're doing a festival in Copenhagen. There's like thousands of people, and they knew Non Phixion records. I was like, how is this? This is internet's there, but it's not like that. And there's like this international export distribution of records, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy.
That's an amazing
that's like
feeling,
97, 98, I think, sometime around there. It was wild.
So that you probably, when you come back from that, you probably super
we were motivated.
Yeah.
And when we signed to Geffen, we got the deal. Search distributed some money, and we built a recording studio called Area 51 in Canarsie.
Oh, wow.
That's where MF Doom came and hung out and did the song on The Future Now called Strange Universe.
From KMD, right?
From KMD, yeah. MF
Which
Doom.
not many people know. Like, I remember seeing KMD opening for Third Base. I remember seeing them so much back then, the whole camp. And then I probably didn't realize it till many years later that was MF Doom.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Incredible,
So Doom would come by, and lots of artists would come by the studio, and we just would demo stuff there. And Gore-Tex would make beats. Now he's known as Lord Goat, would make beats out of there. Necro would come by and make beats out of there, and on the ASR 10, and we record demo after demo, and that's where we did most of the album.
Yeah.
And then we ended up getting signed to Matador Records, ironically enough.
Matador, okay.
Matador, the guys up at Matador, rock and, Liz Fair and et cetera, like big fans of Non Phixion and the Arsonists. So they signed both groups.
Wow.
And most of the Non Phixion record was made while we were signed to Matador Records.
Were you playing with rock groups too, or just strictly hip hop at the time?
There were some rock groups. We were doing festivals later on. Festivals. I remember like in Europe, we go to a festival and then, Bill and Gore-Tex being big metal fans, like, okay, we're done with the stage. I'm going to go see Sabbath. They're playing on the stage over there.
Yeah.
And we go, and I remember like going to the front of the stage because that's where they wanted to go. And I turned around, Toby, and I saw a sea of people coming towards the front. I hooked a big left because I'm a little claustrophobic. I couldn't.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. I feel you. I feel you. But I'm like, I'm out.
Wow.
Yeah. So we would do some festival with rock bands and stuff like that, but mostly hip hop. I mean, yeah.
But then you're touring on the Futures Now for a while. Is that
touring on the Future is now?
Is that music becomes full time at that point?
Yeah, that's music becoming full time, and that's where we did the High Times tour with Boot Camp Click. Rest in peace, Sean Price. We would do full-fledged tours with the Beatnuts, who we became really good friends with, who produced some tracks on the Future is Now. The Future is Now, if you don't know, people don't know, is produced by DJ Premier, Large Professor, DJ Pete Rock, the Beatnuts, Necro.
That's like a dream.
Dave One from Chromeo. It's like,
Yeah.
And it's not like we had a budget to pay them a lot of money. They were genuine. Bill knew Large Professor from back in the days when Bill was doing work with Joe Fatal, who was on Live at the Barbecue, right?
Yep.
So it was like it was this really authentic relationship that was established.
Yeah. It's like underground community and grassroots, everything about it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But then you start touring off that. You come back from Europe and just going full on like. That's it, music.
Full on music, doing it hardcore. Still not making lots of money.
Did you feel like it could be a career, though?
I did. I felt like it could be a career.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that, if it was the way it was now with social media, we probably would have been like multimillionaires. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And whatever it is. But, at the same time, we're extremely proud. I mean, I hear people talk about it all the time, like, wow, Non Phixion, one of the craziest groups you never heard of,
Yeah.
Some people never heard of.
There should be a documentary, man.
Yeah. Well, the green CD, and it's actually, I think it's in the box set, has a CD, but there should be. I agree. It'd be really interesting.
It'd be really interesting.
Yeah. Now, with all of our stories, I mean, Bill and Gore-Tex got stories for days of being in the studio with some legends.
Where did Gore-Tex come from?
He was Bill's boy. So Bill and Gore-Tex grew up in Glenwood projects.
Okay.
Right, like official housing projects when, people who look like them and look, Necro didn't grow up in the projects. So they were there. They were outcasts, and they grew up in the projects, and they would listen to hip hop and metal, and so they were boys growing up. And I remember Serge was at Bill's house in Starlight City, and Serge called me. He was like, "Yo, Bill's boy Gore-Tex is here." He was like, listen to him rhyme. So Gore-Tex rhymed for me over the phone. I was like, oh, he's dope. He's like, yo, we're gonna put him down with us because they were gonna have a group anyway.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm down. Let's go. So that's what it was. And then we kept doing demos, and Gore-Tex became an official part of Non Phixion.
Did MC Serge have his solo records then? Was this after that? Here it comes. He had some good. I like.
No, the solo records was there. I actually was on one of the tracks in the video for "Keep Boiling, Don't Stop." Days of the Week it was called. Yeah. We went down to the video.
How many solo records did he do? Two.
I think he did 2, but I was there for that first one. I don't remember.
That was "Here It Comes." I think that was the first single.
Here it comes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I always loved, man. I got to see Third Base a couple of times. They're incredible. I love those records.
And then we parted ways at one point. We just didn't see eye to eye for a few reasons and all that. But eventually, time heals and all that good stuff. But eventually, then Non Phixion just became me, Bill, Gore-Tex, and DJ Clip stuck with us, and that was Search's boy and still is, right?
Yeah.
But Eclipse decided, he believed in us enough and for the records and stayed our DJ and still is to this day.
That's amazing. And you guys put your solo record out in 2004, right?
Correct. Yep. Sabacalypse.
The same time the Green came out. No, around the same time.
Around the same time. Yep. Well, that year, Necro was producing all of our solo albums. Decided I'm going to put out a Bill album, a Sabac album, and a Gore-Tex album.
Kind of like the Wu-Tang did.
Exactly.
Solo records.
Exactly. If that was the blueprint, exactly. So I put out the Sabacalypse album. And that was great. Have Necro produced the whole entire thing, and had features from Vinny Paz, Immortal Technique, Q Unique.
And you toured on that too?
Did tour on that as well, yep.
And was it weird being solo from the group?
Yes and no. I think, for me, people always consider me the more political guy of the group or whatever, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, you're the righteous one, whatever. Although I think we all brought something unique and special to the group. I think that's what helped balance it out. But it was good touring solo. I enjoyed it. You know, it's I mean, I love touring with the guys as well.
Of course.
And
the Green record did great too.
Yeah, the Green CD did really well. Yep.
And then there's like a gap for a couple years too.
There was a gap for 2007 because I moved out to the Bay Area in 2005.
And how'd that happen? Why'd that happen?
Fell in love.
Yeah.
Fell in love.
Yeah, you told the story before. You met her. Yeah, in New York.
I met in New York, and at that time, you know.
Isn't it weird leaving New York though? You're like such a New Yorker.
It was wild. I'm such a New Yorker, and I never imagined. But we were touring so much, and we were about to go on a 3-month tour with Hieroglyphics. It was Non-Phixion, OC.
Wow.
Hieroglyphics and Boom Bap Project. Okay. So I moved we moved and I drove across the country with my girlfriend and now wife. My girlfriend at the time, we lived in Berkeley for like a week and a half because that's where she lived. So we found the place and we found the spot in Oakland. And then a week and a half later, I'm on tour.
Wow.
And I'm chopping it up with A+ and Pep Love from Hieroglyphics. And like, oh, where do you stay? I said, well, I'm in Oakland now. Like, what? Where? I said, I know. You know, you guys from Oakland. And then where? And it was like, Pep Love was like, I live down the block from you and that. And then we became cool. So it was good. It was like an introduction, a really good introduction to the Bay Area.
Yeah. And was that a drastic change for you though, from New York to there?
It was. And I think a pivotal moment was standing on the line at Trader Joe's. And at that point, I never knew of Trader Joe's really because they didn't have them on the East Coast. And I'm just like, man, what's taking so long? Let's go. Like, let's go. And Karina, my wife, was like, my girlfriend at the time was like, slow down. Things are a little slower out here. Yeah. I just like, let me get my stuff and go. Like, what's taking so
fast?
long?
Everything's fast moving, man.
She's like, take a deep breath. Let's slow it out here. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And you know, I learned to just pace myself. But as much as I love New York, I can't see myself going back. Specifically weather related. I cannot do it. I cannot do it. And
it's different there too. Yeah, dude. A lot of spots. Almost all my spots growing up aren't there. When I went there with my son recently, it was like a lot of young. I felt really old in Manhattan, especially. A lot of young kids waiting in line at these brunch places and pizza. I waited for like an hour for a slice, and just like everything's. My son loved it because it's that young energy. But but I was a young kid running around there too, so I know what that's like. But it just felt different, man. You know, I mean, everything changes. So
absolutely, yeah, it changes, and you know, I tend to be like, oh, I don't want to talk like smack about it, but it is different, and I think it lost a lot of its authenticity with regards to like, to the grind. Yeah, to the grind. I'm not saying folks aren't. It's a different type of grind, but the grind of like, you know.
Hustle and bustle of the city.
Man, the hustle bustle of the city. The fact that you had to be street smart, you got to watch where you're going, and you know, I know it's like. It's navigating the different areas in the different neighborhoods, and it's not great either right now, especially in the past couple of years. Crime has increased tremendously, but there's something really special and artistic and mom and pop about New York City that it's not going to be there again, unfortunately. Yeah, at least from my opinion. But so I love that memory of it.
Yeah, is East New York still East New York?
East New York is still East New York.
Because I heard there's some spots that really haven't changed.
No, there are. There definitely are some spots that have not
Avenue
changed.
D.
Yep. Yep. For real.
But some spots will always say the same. But it was a great scene. The time that we were there, it was just a beautiful time for especially hip hop, hardcore, everything, man.
Everything, hardcore.
The melting part of all of it, man.
I remember you and I leaving Nana one time. You were like, I'm going to see my friends Rancid play. And you want to come? And I heard of them, but I never saw them live. And I was like, okay. And I think they were playing at the Limelight. Which is a weird. The Limelight was a dance club, but it had multiple. And I remember, like, should we get on the train? And I think either we didn't have enough money or we chose to spend money on something. I don't know, but we were like, let's just walk. And I think we walked the whole. I think I picked up a 22 ounce of Heineken. You didn't drink, so I was like, brown bagging it.
20th Street or something, or 19th or 20th. Yeah,
so I think it was in the teens. Yeah, it was in the teens, and we went to see Rancid perform live, and I was like, oh, this is dope.
Had you been to like a punk show before that?
I had, okay. Yeah. A few ones. There was a spot in Brooklyn I remember going to once, but I wasn't.
Was it L'Amour's? You ever go to L'Amour's in Brooklyn?
Yeah. L'Amour's. We performed at L'Amour's a few times.
And that was probably a dream for Bill because that is a metal club.
Metal club.
Wow.
Bill and Gorta and Necro had a group that they played at L'Amour's, opened up for Biohazard.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was their group called? Was it a metal group?
Yeah. Why? I'm just drawing a blank.
Did Bill have long hair back then
he
too?
He did. Yeah. Dang. He did. Why am I drawing a blank? He's going to hate me for that. But yeah, you'll have to interview him at some point.
I will.
He'll tell you all about it.
And then there was a Nuclear Truth record that never came out?
So we started recording. Bill and I recorded a few demos for Nuclear Truth, and then some stuff evolved and happened, and you know.
What year was that?
That was around 2005, more like 2003, 2004. So it was a couple of years after The Ritual. Bill and I started demoing some songs for the Nuclear Truth.
Uh-huh.
And then, you know,
So there's some demos out there.
There's some demos. There is. Yeah, we can put out probably a whole nother green CD somehow, and do that. But then I moved to Cali in 2005. Bill continued to grind on his solo stuff and hasn't stopped, actually. He's got a new album coming out soon called Billy.
Awesome,
Billy.
man.
$1 billion Bill. So he's on his grind still. And
then what did you just want to, when you moved to Cali, obviously it was for your lady, but did you have other goals you wanted to do out there, or was it just still music?
It was still music and education. I've always been passionate about continuation of, music has always been my passion. But the message also, without being preachy, you know. So people ask me, well, I said, listen, it's the same purpose. It's a different platform right now. My work in education and in schools and working with grants to provide opportunities for students in programs. So I wanted to get into that. I was fortunate enough to meet some really amazing people in the Bay Area, including Alameda, where I ended up eventually living until I moved recently, and working in the after-school programs there. So doing writing workshops and things like that, and managing some of the grants that they were getting for after-school programs. So still doing music and still trying. I was able to multitask it because at the time we were getting paid, but it wasn't enough. As you got to still make a living. Yeah. And during the downtime, it was like, what am I doing? If I'm not recording, I want to do something. Yeah. So it felt good to have that consistency, and eventually evolved into a career for me.
Yeah, and you didn't even go to college for that.
No, not for that. I went for recording engineering. I mean, I've got tons of certifications and tons of experience because, you have to as part of like the process for providing opportunities. So like social emotional learning and PBIS and all the acronyms that are coming down the pipeline and still continue to be the restorative practices. It's like, not only have I been trained, but I'm also able to coach on some of those practices.
So what's your official job title name?
It's a great question. So I'm a program manager and quality support coach. What does that mean? Okay. It means that our organization receives grants from school districts. School districts receive them from federal government grants and from the state of California to provide opportunities for students beyond the school day. So after school, and we get to do lots of innovative and creative work. So I get to partner specifically. I partner with now 7 high schools in the Bay Area, where I get to partner with the principals. I get to partner with community members, parents, and students around what are your needs and how can we use this funding to help support those needs via resources. So perfect examples are if students are interested in, music or art or coding. I look for artists. I look for opportunities and programs, and I contract with them to come into the schools to be able to do that. So that's part of my job. And the other part is to be able to coach adults on how to do that intentionally and purposefully when working with students. Like, how do you welcome a student when they come into the classroom, right? What does your agenda look like? How are you truly prepared? What's the type of language you should be using, etc.? And I do that, as a collaborative team. So it's amazing, man. And it's so rewarding because I could be doing anything else, as an artist, whatever it is, and it's so fulfilling. And you've come to see me a few times.
Yeah, how long have you been doing that for now?
In this particular role, about 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy because you're doing you're in that world, but then you're also like an underground hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's amazing.
It's crazy to see. Like, so I don't do direct service with students anymore, although I do pop in and do some workshops periodically. I'm mostly now helping support coaching adults to work with students. But it's interesting when sometimes students will know, because there's this kind of like emergence of young people, especially high school students, seeking music that isn't as popular, so to speak. And they're finding it, man. They're finding it. And
they found you a couple times?
They found me a couple of times, And it's interesting because I've seen interviews with folks from Griselda, right? Talking about how they would listen to nonfiction.
Wow.
Flatbush Zombies listen to nonfiction.
That's
you know what I mean? So it's like these great, dope artists who are like really doing crazy, amazing things, but like listening to us.
That's
and as that pops up, with social media now, it's like, oh wait, nonfiction? Oh, let me take a look what that is. And we're starting to find it.
Yeah.
Right. And we see that in even the consistency of the royalty checks that come in every month. I'm like, well, we're splitting it 4 ways, but I'm like, oh, okay,
that's still
coming
sick,
in.
Though.
Yeah. So the young people they're experiencing it.
Which Griselda mentions that. It's cool.
Yeah.
Conway, the whole Buffalo, New York thing is incredible, man.
It's incredible. Yeah.
There's such a throwback, amazing vibe with them, and I love that. Yeah. I love that, like, the people love it too, and it's not like some kind of like throwback thing. It's like not this. You know what I mean? Like, it's something now.
Something now. When you think about, like, when you listen to the beats and the rhymes, it's taking it back to hip hop. You know what I mean? It's taking it back to grassroots. And I'm clear. Like, even like my appearance, right? I'm white passing. I look hella Irish. I'm Puerto Rican, Sicilian. That really, it's like, I'm a guest in hip hop. You know what I mean? Even though Puerto Ricans have been there since day one.
Yeah.
And you see the emergence of how many white artists are out there right now, right? And I think there's also a big responsibility I think that artists need to have, especially if you're white or white passing when you're doing hip hop music. Because I remember Bill and I were talking about this, even with Search. It's like we'd be the only white looking people in the entire club. It's like we'd be the only ones there at the shows, et cetera. And it's not trying to get points or whatever, but there's a respect and an authenticity. I think that's one of the reasons why even Search got that amount of respect that he did, because he was there at that time. Even your boy Rappaport, I hear him talking about all the time, Latin Quarters. Dude. He was there, he was back then. And so I wasn't at the Quarters. I'm a little bit younger, but I wish I was. Those days sound incredible, right? So there was a few of us that were there. I mean, I remember going to see Gangstar shows and Little Dap, and I was a Group Home fan. It was like, we were backstage with my boy Albie New, one of the guys who was down with them, Big Rob, who was down with the crew. And he was like, who are these devils back here, I was like, oh no, man, no. And then years later, I'm produced by DJ Premier. It's so like, it's sick. Crazy, but there's a reason for that.
Yeah, Jack Harlow, so many artists now, man.
Yeah, and I'm not mad at them. I'm like, cool, but if you listen, some of them were influenced. Yeah. They will say it.
Do you listen to a lot of new hip hop? Do you keep your ear to it?
I listen to some of the new hip hop. Yep.
I love Kendrick, man. The new record is just, I think it's like an art piece. I've been listening to it every day since it came out. Like every day I find something new lyrically in there, and I think
Kendrick's brilliant. He's dope.
I love how he did No Press. He just left the country when the record came out.
Yep.
I love J. Cole. I think he's super talented.
Yep.
I love the artists that are like pretty much off the grid. They focus on the craft. They come back when they have a new record. They're not like all over social media. They're just like Cole's in the Carolinas. I just love it, man.
Yeah.
And my son listens to all kinds of stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really good music I still into, and I still like some of the more underground but new. UFO Fev, right?
Where are they from?
Dope, from New York City.
Okay.
Nems, right? Gorilla Nem. Bing bong. Like he's like
yeah.
We would tour with him. Like he would Non Phixion. He did albums with Bill Gorilla Twins. Before the Bing Bong. I mean, that's a good friend. In terms of like the stuff that he's done for many years, and I'm so happy to see him doing so well. And you want to hear a story? Talk about his story. Like he'll tell it. But it's like thinking about the idea of consistency, of patience, of not giving up. It's like that's the grind right there. And the same with Bill and our boys from Jedi Mind Tricks, Vinny Paz, people who are still doing it, and doing really, really well, keeping consistency and having careers out of this.
Yeah. So do you love where you're at in your life, what you do now? Are you happy with your career as so far?
Yeah, I am
with music and everything.
Yeah. I'm happy where I am right now. I love that we still get to do shows, before the pandemic hit in 2019. Non Phixion went out to tour to Europe. And it was some of the best shows I feel like we've done. Yeah, it was insane. It was insane. So still, to me, it fulfills my soul to be able to go out and perform, like the show I'm doing this coming weekend. I don't know when this will air, but the Back to Basics Festival, which Non Phixion was supposed to do, but unfortunately, they can't do it. But since I'm going to be out here anyway, they were like, come rock a solo set. So stuff like that satisfies me. I'll do features periodically. I'll still write and create.
I was going to ask you, you're still writing?
Yeah. And actually, we're going to re-release The Ritual. The Ritual never really went on digital platforms the way it should have. So my boys, Snow Goons, Manu and them from out in Europe and Germany are going to do The Ritual Revisited with 3 bonus tracks for that album.
That's
and
awesome.
It's going to be released digitally and limited edition vinyl.
So you're always doing stuff to stay creative musically. You're listening to music. You're always
creatively music, and also in my work. I know that's the other part. It's innovation. It's ideation. It's thinking, how can we creatively, continuously get young people interested in the resources that are out there, especially in the last 2 years when a lot of young people are losing hope. Right?
Just online, everything.
Yeah. So
being around people, being social, all that stuff, man.
It's wild. And
it's heavy.
It's interesting when the pandemic first hit, we were talking about it, and I remember saying, I was like, it's going to be beyond the physical illness of this.
Oh, yeah.
You think about the longevity of what this is going to do, specifically to young people who've experienced friendships before and relationship and spaces where they can be themselves or figuring out who they are.
Totally.
So if you're in 5th, 6th grade, middle school, especially high school, like Max's age, it's like,
man.
Ooh,
He graduated online. It was
crazy,
I
dude.
know. He wanted to be with his friends, just all that.
Yeah. But there's also, I think, if you can kind of manage that, right, and overcome it, there's such a sense of resiliency that comes with that. And I don't know if it's showing up right now, but I think at some point, in some way, it's going to show up, and the young people are going to look back and appreciate the moments, those teachable moments, if we can get them through it.
This is the positive what you're talking about. Yeah, the positive out of all of it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just making it through and like not being. Yeah, it's such a different time, different world, man. It's just. I mean, you have 2 boys, man.
2 boys, 7 and 11.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
You want to have more kids? Are you good?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm not fixed yet, whatever that is. I'm like,
I'm fixed. My wife got me fixed. Whatever.
I hear you. I'm contemplating, I'm like,
it wasn't fun, but I know, my wife wanted me to do it, so whatever.
If I was more into like basketball, because I heard that's the thing to do, it's like, you do it around March because it's college basketball, March Madness. You get snipped and you sit down and you watch games all day.
Oh my God. That's a thing?
That's a thing. That's what I heard. I'm like, okay, like I like basketball, but I'm not that much into it where I'm going to go get snipped and sit in front of the TV and watch basketball all day.
You were saying earlier your son was DJing for you too. So
he is, yeah.
Are your sons into sports? What are they into? Music like you?
Yeah. So Marcus, my 7-year-old, he's a builder. He's an engineer. Loves Lego. He's an artist. He draws. He likes music. He plays a little bit of keyboard. But my son Lucas took an interest. I'm about like, I don't officially play guitar. I strum here and there. I got guitars and stuff. But my goal was introduce my children to instruments, to software, and let them figure it out.
Totally.
So I had this controller, the Newmark controller, and he started like picking it up, and then I got Serato Lite on the laptop, and he started putting in music and started DJing. He actually was really good. He knew how to blend and started doing it. Right?
Wow.
It's wild how kids figure it out.
Totally, especially now, man.
100%. And so he did. He got a passion for it, and then I think his first official gig was again right before the pandemic, the school year of 2019 in August. And there's a company called Heart Blaster Clothing. It's Burner from Cookies, Burner.
Okay.
His daughter started this company with her mom, and they found Lucas and asked, shout out to Tracy P. Tracy P. who connected us. And Lucas DJ'd at this bowling alley in San Francisco that a friend of ours, that the woman that we know, her friend owns. And like it was like this Heart Blaster event, and Lucas was DJing a legit event.
Wow.
And so he took an interest in it, and then just continued doing it. And then he started playing guitar, electric guitar, picked it up at the School of Rock. We live close by the School of Rock, so he started picking up guitar.
My son went to that, yeah.
Yeah, and then he starts coming home and playing metal and playing System of a Down and Metallica and just really getting into metal now. And
so cool.
Took an interest in that and kind of put the controllers in and DJing down for a while. But when this gig came up, I was like, hey, Lou, got this gig coming up. Like, Eclipse is out in New York. He's not going to make it down, but what do you think? You want to DJ? He's like, sure. So he started practicing with me. And I got another DJ friend, DJ Monster, who lives out here now from Fat Beats. He's going to come and DJ as well. But Lucas is ready for it, man.
Wow. So he'll be on stage too?
He'll be on stage rocking.
Wow.
Dash will come on too.
He'll come rhyme too?
He'll come rhyme too. He's going to come and make an
appearance.
Too? Dude, Dash, that's how we started being friends. Before he went from rapping to acting back to rapping.
Okay.
Yeah, he was ahead. The reason why Dash and I were friends, he grew up in West Beth. Okay. Right over there on the West Side Highway, the Artist Building there. That's where his parents grew up. His dad was an actor. And mom was an educator, and Dash grew up there. And he went, lived in the same building as John Gamble, Dante Ross, the SD50s.
SD50s.
Yeah, he grew up with in the building.
That's right, okay.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
Wow,
so when Dash and I met at City Kids, he would also be, I was like, oh, snap, like you rap too? And we would go to his house and sometimes spend the night and we listen to Stretch and Barbito all night long and Organize Confusion's first album. And like, Dash is ahead. He rhymes. So he was on my first solo album, Sabac on a song called I Have a Dream.
Okay, I'm going to listen to that today.
That's
crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, he brought him to the house once and Max was playing drums. A long time ago.
Now he's known as Bunchy.
Yeah, Ray Donovan, man.
Ray Donovan, yeah.
He's an incredible character. It's one of my favorite shows. He's an incredible actor on there. He kills it. Mm-hmm. Dude, it just... Mm-hmm. The last thing I watched was like the Ray Donovan movie he was in. Like, yeah. That role probably was not saying changed his life. That's an incredible role, man.
Huge, absolutely. Definitely pivoting, especially at a time when it's like all reality shows and actors were kind of struggling a little bit like, yo, you got to get some work, but everything is a reality show. It's like, or a Marvel movie. It's like, well, how much more can we have? And then this pops up. So definitely, you got to get him up here. I'm trying to get,
he's going to rhyme with you?
Yeah, he'll be there on Sunday.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, he's done. We've done shows before. He's toured with me out in Greece. We did Thessaloniki. We did. He was out for a film festival in France, and then he flew over.
Up.
Yeah, pulled up, and we were in Athens. Rocked a show in Athens and Amsterdam. We had a show in Amsterdam. Me and him
Milkweg?
At the Milkweg. Yeah. And it's funny because we were there hanging out. And we went to my boy Edson Pata, right? So we went to Pata to check out some sneakers, and we ended up running.
Pata, that's Pata.
Yeah. Shout outs to Edson Pata, they're dope. And we saw this guy there, Eddie, who is the choreographer, dancer for Justin Timberlake, and he knew Dash and he knew me because he grew up in Brooklyn.
Wow.
And he was like, oh, blah blah blah. All right, come to. So here's Dash and I at a Justin Timberland concert in Amsterdam, like just wilding out. Anyway, it was sick, but so it was sick. Are you kidding me? I loved it.
Damn.
I have no shame in that.
What's up with Secret Society? What was that?
Secret Society was a group that consisted of Necro, All of Non Phixion, and Mr. Hyde.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was Secret Society. And that we actually had a few songs recorded. That was around 2005 as well, because I remember recording it in Oakland and then sending the files out to Brooklyn. But again, nothing really merged with that.
So you recorded a lot of songs.
Oh, man, hundreds. We
so
cataloged so many songs, albums, and
it
features.
Seems you still have a lot more in you, though, to put out.
Yeah. A lot. It's interesting because it's finding that time, and it's just like, just being okay with, like, just putting it out, not overthinking. I overthink shit a lot. Like, I overthink stuff a lot.
Are you harsh on yourself? Like a hard critic of your stuff?
Yes, and I'm also like, I don't want to hear opinions, and now it's everywhere. I know, now it's everywhere. Like, I came up in an era where, you get a blurb in the Source and Rolling Stone magazine and, Stress magazine and, et cetera, publications and Mass Appeal. Great. Fantastic. Now it's like everyone's a journalist. Everyone's a critic.
And I'm like, then this came.
And it is what it is. I don't want to sound like that, but it's just like, if I'm creating art and I'm putting it out, I know, especially if you have no background, you know what I mean?
If you never made a song in your life, or never toured, or never played a show,
or
never did anything.
Yeah, come on. Like, what gives you
there's
that
like
credential?
I feel like there's a lot of music critics that, like we talked about on the pod before, like how many music critics have written a song or played a show or toured in a van or slept on the floor and they're critiquing your music. Yeah, it's like...
Dude, you remember when we were on Warped Tour in 2004?
Yeah,
right?
I remember that.
You were in Hazen Street. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. You guys, we were on a van that whole tour, dude.
That's no joke. It's no joke.
No joke.
I've done a van before that. Yes.
It was hella fun, though. I mean, that was
so fun.
That was so much fun.
Just long, hot fucking days.
Hot days. Do you remember at night, every time when the shows would be done, and if we didn't have to go traveling too far, they'd throw a party and
whatever.
Barbecue. And me and you would break dance. And
that's right.
Feeling old. Like,
was that 2004? That's
2004.
Right.
Yeah, Warped Tour. We did the whole tour. I can't believe we did the whole tour in a van.
And it was like a tent, a hip hop tent.
Hip hop tent. Yep.
Dude.
Yep.
It's so crazy. It's such a grind. The Warped Tour is such a grind, man.
Yeah. And I remember we'd come see Hazen Street because that album was incredible.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
it's cool because when I mentioned, when I look up the bands that you guys toured with, Hazen Street got to mention or play with. I was like, it's like Gangstar, Run DMC, Wu-Tang, Rage Against the Machine, Big Pun, Fat Joe, Mos Def, Hazen Street, Black Moon.
Yeah, man. Cool, yes, man.
Rage Against the Machine too, huh?
Yeah, that was at a Free Mumia Abdul-Jabbar show. I think that was was it the Wetlands? It was an organization called Refuse and Resist that was really about police brutality and speaking up for the rights. On October 22nd, the day that most you wear black to represent like all victims of police brutality. And I remember like we did a show for Mumia Abdul-Jabbar. Yeah, that was crazy. Wow. Yep.
At Wetlands?
I think it was at Wetlands.
Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, it was a small show, but it was a fundraiser / awareness concert.
And how was it playing Wu-Tang? Was that just like a festival thing or show? Or?
It was a festival. It was because there was a few times where we did stuff. So Bill actually ended up recording some songs with Raekwon with Vinnie Ponte at Vinnie Ponte's crib. They were going to do something together too. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Raekwon will be at the show in the Jizz on Sunday.
Yeah. And Gangstar playing with Gangstar. I'm sure that was
fantastic.
A dream.
Absolutely. And again, a lot of these were like these tramp shows.
Yeah, tramps,
they would put on and shouts
Big
to
Pun
Peter.
Too.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yep.
Nobody really talks about Big Pun's skills, really.
Really? I
never hear mentioned on here before, but yeah.
You know what I love, Toby? I love the fact that listening to the podcast, One Life One Channel, you transferable, man. Like you can go into the rabbit hole of like photography and artists in New York to like metal and fashion and then really go down hip hop. right? And even pop, even pop culture. You know, like your favorite band's Coldplay, right?
Yes.
And you see, Dash and I would love Coldplay.
I didn't even know that.
You know, we would
crazy.
listen.
Yeah.
Dash and I would be in the cars listening to like the randomest, not random, but like when people like. But we were just listening to like, you know, Organized Confusion and like Boot Camp Click and Sean Price, and then we're throwing on like an Alanis Morissette and Coldplay, and like, you know what I mean? Just
I love that.
It's great.
I've always been like that. I've always loved all types of music, but I mean, I love hip hop so much. I mean, I would never try to rhyme because I love it so much, and like, I just love hip hop. I mean, I got to be in New York during that time. I was breakdancing in the '80s. Like, I don't know. I just love it and appreciate it, but I know that like that's not my lane as far as music goes. I'm also a punk rock skateboarding kid, you know what I mean? But I love it all though. Yeah. But like Black Moon, another underrated. You got to play with them and
incredible whole tour. Was called the High Times tour, Weed Festival tour, back in the days. You know what's crazy? We did when you think about the emergence of hip hop and metal and punk and all that, you know, it was because it was aggressive music. It was music with a message. Like, we're gonna rebel, we're gonna do the whole thing against the system. And nonfiction, Ill Bill and Jedi Mind Trinity Paz. We did 2 sold-out shows back-to-back at CBGB shortly before it closed down.
I remember hearing about that. I was gone by them. I remember that.
It was incredible.
Wow,
incredible. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Bill actually ended up putting out like a DVD of that event. Yeah, it was crazy.
That's so sick too.
Insane.
That's
an honor before they closed it down.
I mean, I love like obviously Onyx with Biohazard, Bionics, the remix, obviously take it back to Run DMC, Aerosmith, and then Public Enemy, Anthrax. Yeah. But all that merging, I feel like New York was a melting pot for all that because I could go to a CB's matinee on a Sunday, and that night I could go to the hip hop room where Brooklyn Dom from Brooklyn Projects was DJing at the Limelight. Yeah. My wife was a bartender at the Limelight. We'd go there, or we go to the Ritz, see Airbnb and Rakim. Yeah. Or go to NYU and see Third Base with KMD, which I saw before. Yes. Just everything was going on. Go to the Wetlands. Yes.
Incredible.
It was beautiful, man. Absolutely. All that. That timing is just that era of all that. Yeah. And my wife worked at the Palladium, so I got to go see Wu-Tang perform Protect Your Neck for Hot 97. First time we were playing live. Mary J. Blige, What's the 411 when that came out. I got to go to all that stuff, and then Lou Sick of It All, his girlfriend worked at the Ritz. We got to see all those shows. Yeah. Like, it was just like going from different spots.
Incredible.
Man. It was so sick.
Did you happen to go to the show? And I only hear one other person, Rosenberg, talk about this from Hot 97. KRS-One at the Palladium, where he threw out, it felt like 1,000 tennis balls with his autograph on it.
Did not.
And then we hold up the tennis ball, and black lights came on, and they all glowed. You know, it was glowing in the dark. I still have that tennis ball.
So you were there?
I was there. No, I was there. I still have the tennis ball.
Holy
It's crazy. I have this box. It's a New York Yankees collectible box, but in that box are like
everything.
beepers, like old beepers, and like tennis ball and like trading cards and stuff like that. Wow. Yeah, that ball. That was one. And people are like, what do you mean? It was a thing. KRS-One to this day, like probably by far. Like when I look at performance, how I learned like how to perform, because I've always been taking pride in my stage show, my live show. Yeah. It was KRS, and it was like a reggae artist, dance hall artist. Okay. Right? So it was like Bounty Killer and Super Cat. Like if I watch sound sets of like reggae artists, the performances, you go, they take you through journeys. Yeah. It was incredible. So anyway, but KRS, when he did that, I was like, whoa. I mean, he's in my top Palladium, 5. At the Palladium.
Top 5, though. I mean, talking about a vegetarian, no goat, no ham, no chicken, no turkey, no hamburger, because to me that's suicide, self-murder. Yep. And that record, My Philosophy. And and then I was with the Grill Biscuits guys who were vegetarians, and I was straight edge, and I loved hip-hop, and then KRS-One I was like, dude, because I loved BDP at the time, like all that. Yeah. And then getting to be in the Onyx video.
That's right. I remember when you came to Nana, and I don't know if you had just gotten the tattoo or it was around there, but End Racism on your back. Yeah. The hand, I was like, yo, you like pulled up your shirt, like, look. Yeah. And then you were going to be in the House of Pain video. Yeah. I remember.
Everlast saw me, literally I was on the dance floor with my shirt off when they were about to open up for Rage or something at the Academy, and he somehow came to the crowd and saw my back. Somebody came up and said, hey, House of Pain want to invite you to the video tomorrow on Fire Island. And that's how it happened.
I think you told me that at Nana.
It's fucking crazy.
By that yellow couch. You're like, look, they're going to invite me. I'm going to be in the video. Maybe you had done it. Wow.
So then the House of Pain, then the Onyx video. Got to meet Tupac before he had tattoos backstage one time with House of Pain. Yeah, man. Shook my hand, looked at me and said I was crazy with those tattoos. That was a moment. I wish I had a camera back then. Yeah. I remember seeing Biggie outside of his studios once in the street. I was like, holy shit. Yep. You can just walk down the street. It depends where you were, Midtown area. You see like just somebody like.
It's wild.
And especially the block we were on with Fat Farm and Nana. And then
Prince Street. Yeah. Prince Street. That was wild.
I went to Airbnb Rakim at the Ritz. It was a shootout. I never got to see him perform until like 2 years ago on the 30th anniversary of Paid and Flow. Yeah. I got to go see him finally perform. Yes. That was a scary moment, running down the fire escape at the Ritz. Ooh. Sheets and Pillows,
Yes,
all those
Sheets and
fucking
Pillows.
clubs in New York, man.
Yes. Bill Spector.
Yeah, Bill Spector, man.
Yeah.
It was just amazing time,
Yeah.
man.
When you could go down and get on the subway and see a Keith Haring tag, like straight up, like live, right? It's like, it was like, whoa, on the wall. It was like, what? Yeah.
Just everything tuned like now. How my son's like rocking all Carhartt. I'm like, yo, are you serious? Because Carhartt Whip now is like it reached surface. It restarted kind of in Europe, I think. They changed it into Whip. Now it's a street brand on expensive store here on La Brea. I'm like, dude. And so the other day, like a couple months ago, whatever, he's like, I'm going to get this beanie. It's like $50. I'm like, yo, come with me. I took him to the Army Navy store, got the same beanie for like $15 or something.
There you go.
But I'm just like, yo, I show him all these pictures of all us
overalls
back then from Dave's Army Navy on 6th Avenue.
That's right. You know why I started working Carhartt, though? I won't lie. Cypress Hill, be real.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I saw the video. I was like, yo, Carhartt.
At Astor Place when they shot their video in New York, too.
Yep.
That's
right
a great
there
doc, the new Cypress doc.
Yep.
Dude, yeah, everybody's rocking Carhartt.
That's why I started.
Ben Davis on the West Coast.
But I didn't really rock Ben Davis, but Carhartt for sure.
Dude,
Carhartt was
it was Cypress.
So that's how at least I know I started rocking Cypress.
Then House of Pain, obviously, but yeah, Cypress was like the first, right?
Yep.
Maybe Gangster had some, but you look back now, the
Gangster,
photos,
I think, on actually an album cover, I think Premier was rocking one.
Dude,
but
like
I don't know which
can,
came first,
maybe.
the Chicken McNugget or Egg McMuffin. I don't know if it was Cypress and Premier was influenced. I don't know.
But isn't it? Then it's crazy how like all the kids wear Air Force Ones now, and they wear them to their beat. My son's got them on the porch. I'll show you. Holds them like in New York. That shit would not fly. They were crisp, perfect. Uptowns.
I'm gonna keep it real.
Crazy.
As a former sneaker dude or whatever, I have a phrase. I'm like, increase the crease, because I would be so scared of creasing my sneakers, my Jordans, that it would be like uncomfortable. I'd walk like Herman Munster because I didn't want to crease it. Let the crease be a fashion statement. Increase the crease.
But now they do it though. The kids do it
exactly.
now. And now it's cool to wear dirty white Air Force Ones, which is kind of cool, like not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this, but in certain areas you can't wear black ones. That's like a different thing out here than is New York.
Yeah.
But New York was like black Air Force Ones is almost like your winter boot, depending, or you had Timberlands or Chuckas.
Yep.
All that shit. It's just crazy how now it's like the Carhartt's back.
Yeah.
White Air Force Ones, baggy shit's back.
You should see how many students that I see when I go to the schools to do the site visits in Oakland that wear Doc Martens.
Ooh, yeah.
They are Doc Martens. I can't believe that I used to rock Timberlands in like the summertime in New York City down the subway steps, you know.
That was the thing, though.
It was totally the thing, but I'm just like, that's crazy. Like now I need Air Maxes, I need comfortables. I'm not.
Are you still a sneaker guy?
Not that much. If I see a nice pair, like rocking the Air Max right now, the 50th year edition ones. You know,
you still buying, still looking online.
I can't do all that. I can't do that. I can't. I mean, it comes up in my feed all the time because I'm like, I got 2 kids. I got a closet. And I'm
full?
Like, I have enough. Yeah, I
have some enough. Like unworn ones and shit.
Have unworn Pata ones, like homegrown Pata ones, like limited edition. But I don't care anymore.
The Pata ones?
They have a whole bunch of ones. Yeah. They have the Air Maxes. Yeah, the limited edition.
So you're not really searching for shoes. It's not part of your life.
Not part of my life
Something
at all.
might pop up.
No, the only one that I really regret is, as a Yankee fan, they had a Derek Jeter Jordan limited one, and I remember waking up at like 4 a.m. trying. But I hear there's this whole algorithm that there's just like
bots, all that
there's
stuff.
Bots, yeah, exactly. So I was trying, and when I looked online at what it was worth, like a few years later, it was like almost like $10,000 for a $200 shoe.
Isn't it weird?
I'm like, not like I would have sold it, but I'm just like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
You know.
What do you have any major regrets in your life? I know we're going off.
No, that's not off. It's good. Regrets. I tend not to try to delve in regrets. I feel like everything is for a reason.
I like that.
And it sounds cliche, but
people say it a lot.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I have.
No.
I
love that.
No, I think if anything, my mom passed away unexpectedly, June 11, 2011, which is crazy because 11/11 is the number that I'm kind of like, that's really interesting. And then when we went to bury her in St. Charles Cemetery, it was like plot 111 and like 11.
No way,
No,
dude.
seriously, dude. Like, if I put up the clock and it's
you
like
better have 11/11 tat somewhere, man.
I should, right? I don't have any tats, dude.
Oh, okay, you're good then.
Right? No, really.
Clean canvas. That's fine.
But if I pick up, I'm like, oh, what's up, Mom? But I think if there's any, it's like, usually sometimes I would rush to visit. Like, I would go on a Sunday and it would be like, my mom make a meal for like just me and Karina or me and a girlfriend or whatever for like 50 people. And it was just us 4, whatever, 3. And just not spending, more quality time. Like, oh, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll rush and blah, blah, blah. And then like, I remember getting that phone call that she fell and hit her head and like, you know what I mean? That was in 2011. So a regret would be just like, I wish I had spent a little bit more time, like conversing, and we did, but it just, that's about it.
She would come see you perform?
Dude, she was like all the time.
So
not
sick.
Necessarily with nonfiction, but as a kid with the focus group, she'd be there at the Apollo Theater, at Mysteries in Jamaica, Queens, at the Ark in Flatbush, Brooklyn, at Mark Jackson's wedding to Desiree Coleman, which was crazy.
It's crazy the Apollo was so young too.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy. It was crazy. I remember being scared. I was like, but we were like the youth special guests, so it wasn't like Sandman's going to come out and give us the
I hear you. But I'm sure your mom was proud and shit, man.
Super proud. Absolutely.
And is it weird? Is it weird now in your adult life now that obviously what you do in education, but you're also a rapper and you're also known that they're like normal everyday society people, because you may live this normal life, but you do come from New York, come from this underground gritty. You come from a different. I don't know. So is it weird? Like I'm also a rapper. Is that hard? Is like you say that to people? Like what else do you do?
Yeah. No, I actually don't. And some people tell me not to compartmentalize myself, but I often do. Like, what do you do? And I tell them I don't tend to talk a lot about my other career at one point. Yeah. Sometimes it'll come up, and it's really interesting. As we we recently moved and got a house somewhere else in California, and we're starting to meet people, and then people are like, wait. Like, literally, here's a funny story. There's no lie. We had a major windstorm, and I never met my neighbor behind me who we share a fence with. He has a huge trampoline. The trampoline flies over my fence like the Wizard of Oz, and it's in my backyard.
Wow.
And I'm like, yo, what's up? So anyway, I meet him, and I had already been living there for 6 months already. We finally meet. Turns out he's ahead. So shout outs to Anthony, like me. So he's like, yo, I knew y'all were cool because I heard you playing hip hop. I heard you playing Doom, heard you playing Boot Camp Click. I was like, what? And he would play reggae music. Turns out he knows nonfiction. And then he sending me plays. And we're in the same age brackets, right? He's like 40, 47,
Is he from
48.
out here?
He's from out here. He's from the Bay Area, but then moved out to the Sac area. And then we became friends. His son goes to my son's school. They knew each other. We didn't even know we lived right behind each other.
I fucking love that.
Crazy,
man.
right?
That's incredible.
So it's like, so anyway, there's that synergy there. So people start to find out a little bit, but I don't wave the flag. Yeah, I'm a rapper,
Yeah.
Especially now, it's like, and even not just now, it's become so cliche. And if I was active as I was back then, 100%. What do you do? I'm an MC. Blah, 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 blah. But I'm more, like I said, I'm more in education. It's the same purpose at a different platform.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And do you consider yourself an optimist or pessimist? I mean, I know the answer to that, but
optimist for sure. Like I do, there's this thing called the Gallup Strengths, right? You identify, you take this assessment and whatever, it can be rooted in whatever. There's top 5 strengths. They say that all of us have about 36 strengths, right? Okay. But each one of us have top 5, and each of those are individually customized for you. You're leaving it an insight report. It's part of our organization. We decided to embark upon these strengths. Okay. So my top 5 are like connectedness, communication, positivity, woo, which means winning others over, which is not a one that's very popular, and then arranger, like to be able to arrange, right? So it's really interesting.
I like that.
That's I tend to look. I try to avoid conflict. I don't like it. I think there's too much drama growing up, whatever. So I try to avoid it. It's also part of a restorative pedagogy, a restorative practice. In terms of I don't believe in cancel culture. I believe in a restorative culture, right? Where there's learned behaviors. And again, depends on how many times you're going to make the same mistake, then we might have to cancel you. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But an opportunity for one to grow, right? To think about
and
that.
learn and change.
Absolutely.
It's interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
That's such a major thing right now in life is cancel culture.
Totally.
And how much time do you spend on the internet, social media and shit like that?
Not a lot. And some people are like, yo, you don't even want to post how you been active.
And you only got
exactly. You got 4,000 followers. You should have 400,000 by now. Because I find, Toby, you know what it is? It's like when I do post a few things here and there, I find myself on it more than I should be. And that's when I start to feel guilty and regretful.
Okay.
I could be spending time with my family. I could be spending time doing this. And I'm just like,
that's true.
But I go down the rabbit holes. And honestly, sometimes I'll go down it at night with my phone in bed. And I'm like, okay. And I should be sleeping. I'm the worst sleeper, by the way. It's like,
you don't sleep good?
Not at all. People are like, you need to smoke weed. You live out in Cali. I can't. It makes me paranoid.
How many hours do you sleep a night, you think?
Consecutive. If I get 3 hours straight.
3 hours?
If I get 3 hours straight. Now, I'll sleep. I'll fall asleep at 9 o'clock. I'll put the kids to bed. I'm watching, I'll fall asleep. But then I'm up at 11:30. Then I'll fall back asleep around like 1, 2, and then I'll go back. And that could be anxiety. It could be whatever.
Always been like that?
No, not really. Maybe.
You take melatonin?
No, I don't take any. I don't like.
I don't
like to take. Yeah, I don't like to take anything. If anything, I will revert back to smoking. And trying something that
I know people take edibles or something.
Yeah. So a lot of people do. Maybe I should go back to trying that. But
because sleep's important.
Absolutely, 100%. Diet, sleep, water, all of that's extremely important.
And we don't sleep. I mean, as you get older, you wake up early. It seems like the thing where you're young, you sleep in, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I realize now sleep is so important with
it's
everything.
Huge.
Right?
It's
health.
Huge. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
mental too.
Absolutely, yeah.
You deserve to sleep, and you work hard.
I do. You're right, and I'm gonna try to get a great night's sleep tonight.
Facts.
Going to the telly. Check 1, 2.
Yo, we're back. Shout out to Tim Millhouse. I don't know who you fucking called, but all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the shit stopped recording. It's never happened, John. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's a CIA.
I wanted to impress you that I'm a professional podcaster now since we hung out, and that just fell to the freaking. Anyway, we're back.
It's all good.
So I don't even know what we're talking about. Let's do this. Top 5.
Oh, you're going to go top 5. Wow. Oh, man.
It could be top 5 anything. It doesn't have to be like, it could be an author. It could be, I'm sure it's going to be hip hop. But
yeah.
I mean, I think I know at least 2.
Let me ask you, who do you think on my top 5? If you know me, like,
I don't know why Nas wouldn't be in there, man.
Nas is in there for sure.
I know KRS-One's got to be in there.
KRS-One is in there as well.
Mine's Nas, KRS-One, Rakim, number 1.
Okay.
Jay-Z, and Biggie. Those are my 5 right
That's
there.
fantastic. That's a good top 5. And
I know it's gonna be hard because you're
it's
an
hard,
actual
man.
MC.
It's hard. It's hard because I love Sean Price. I love Pharoah Monch. Nas. I love
Guru,
Jay-Z,
Q-Tip.
Dude, there's so many. It's like I don't.
That's hard for you, right? So it's easy for me because I'm not.
And I keep it real. I'll keep it real. Like even within my clique, like I genuinely like Ill Bill is sickest lyricist. Sick.
You're not just saying it because that's your boy.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Vinny Paz.
Yeah.
Like these lyricists, dude.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh yeah, like I don't have an ego like that. It'd be like, well, I'm the best. No, I know what my lane is. I know why I do music.
And you've played with a lot of these artists and probably became friends with them and also grew up loving them.
Absolutely. And growing up, it was for sure. The state was Coogee rap, Big Daddy Kane. I listened to like Lakim Shabazz, which was crazy.
Yeah.
And like Naughty by Nature, Tretch from Naughty by Nature is an incredible MC.
He never gets it. Redman, dude. Nobody talks about
Redman is incredible.
I love that Eminem always puts him in his top. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
He always gives him so much love. Yeah, Redman's another one nobody talks about. He's incredible.
Yeah.
And Tretch, of course. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Just because they had hip hop brain and some more poppy thing. Here we go now.
Yep.
I'll if you hear me flow. But he's still gritty and
absolutely
fucking Newark.
Absolutely.
Who else, man? Black Moon, incredible.
Yep.
What's the dude's name for the Roots? And nobody talks about.
Black Thought. Black Thought is incredible.
Too, man.
Absolutely. I love watching him even to this day when he's on like a Funk Master Flex freestyle.
Dude.
Killing it, man.
Method Man too.
Method Man's lyrics, they're just improving and getting better. And he's always been dope, but they just keep getting
Ghost,
crazy.
Raekwon.
Absolutely.
It's crazy because Ghost came out of like literally he had the mask on when he first came out. Everybody's put their stuff out first.
Yeah.
But then he kind of came really just consecutive solo records, killing it.
Yeah.
Only Built for Cuban Links is incredible. Other ones have the Purple Tape, stuff like that's great.
Yep.
But that's just like that. But like I feel like Ghost to just blossom. I don't know. It's interesting.
And you know what? Oftentimes out of the conversation are women in hip hop and women MCs, and not like I want to compartmentalize women, but I put Rod Digger up there. Rod Digger's dope.
Wow,
you know what I mean?
Man. Yeah.
It's there's like
Queen Latifah.
Queen Latifah,
too,
dude. Queen
and what
Latifah's
she was singing
incredible.
about back then.
That I got the cassette of her first
positivity.
album. Queen Latifah rapping the don't
Yeah.
away. I mean, I used to pump it. Yeah, man.
She was sick.
Yeah,
nobody put her up. Yeah, MC Light.
My top 5 will change, like not that it will change because if I had to narrow it down, I gave you a gist of who they would be, like in terms of the consistency, and like
yeah.
And again, there would be Nas in there, there'd be G-Rap in there. Um,
Were you a big Jay fan?
I like Jay-Z a lot.
Yeah,
that was
dude.
great. And I didn't really, my boy Hassan, shout out to Hassan Oz, he was a big Jay-Z fan right around the Reasonable Doubt time. And I was like, it's cool. And that came a little bit later with that album, but it took me a while to really catch on to that album. I used to see Jay-Z all the time.
Really?
Right on H Street. Right by 6th Avenue, by Great Papayas. He would be
Great
in the
Papayas,
white
a hot
Benz.
dog
He would
spot.
hang out there, not eating hot dogs, but he would be around there. I don't know why.
Dang.
I don't know if he was going to House of Nubian. I don't know if he was going to buy like hats. Remember that hat store that would be around the corner?
Yeah, all the
around
fitteds and stuff.
Yeah, so I don't know if that was, but I used to see him there.
But there was a studio there too, a famous studio, Rancid Elk and the Wolves.
Okay.
I forgot what it's called. Very famous studio. I know J. Cole did stuff there.
Okay.
Dude, it's so I'm spacing, but it's like one of the most famous studios that became for everything. Like Rick, what's the producer's name? Is Rick
Rubin
would be in,
Rick Rubin.
Everybody being there, man.
So probably right around there. Maybe that's why. I don't know if that studio's been there for a while, but I remember like seeing Jay pulling
You ever
up.
see Biggie around?
96. So it's interesting because my friend Nashawn, he grew up in the same neighborhood as Biggie, and I remember him bringing Biggie cassette early pre-Biggie, like Ready to Die album, and I brought it to the block. Like my friends will vouch for this. I used to go to the block where I grew up, and my boys that hang out with Dean and Albie and all them, and I would bring the advanced copies of stuff, and I had Ready to Die before Ready to Die, and it was just like,
damn, man.
Who the fuck is this? Hey, when we would pump that all the time, dude. Yeah. Pac too, like, Pac was a little. So one of my mentors, Jamal Joseph, he was a Black Panther, part of the Panther 21, served 9 years in Leavenworth. He was the artistic director at City Kids.
Wow.
He's Tupac's godfather. So he would talk about Tupac and Afeni Shakur. Tupac's mom would come and visit us at City Kids and talk about the Black Panthers and talk about, youth liberation movements and things like that. And I remember when Tupac got shot in New York at that time, Jamal would go. And there's a book called The Legacy, Tupac Shakur. It's a big like a box set.
Okay.
You pull it out and it has almost exact replicas of Tupac's marble notebooks, flyers, when he was in dance class. So Jamal Joseph is the one that produced it. And on my Sabac album, Jamal's doing poetry and interludes. He came to the studio with Necro and I and came and did that. So that's just a fun fact about Pac too. Pac was incredible.
Yeah, there's a Pac museum here I really want to check out for sure, man.
Yeah.
Because he went to like art school in Manhattan and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are there any artists that you would love to would love to have done a collab with, or still would love to work with? Or you don't think about stuff like that no more?
I don't really think. Let me think. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there's, Wise Intelligent, I've done a couple of songs with,
Is that Poor Righteous Teachers?
Poor Righteous Teachers, and I think he's an incredible artist.
Man.
That was, things like that. People say her all the time, and because we had met and freestyled in the basement, Lauryn Hill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, that was almost tangible. Had we recorded something in City Kids,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, there's.
It seems like you play with a lot,
artists.
too.
Yeah, and I love just when I think about collaboration, like even when I was doing the Sabac album, we didn't expect any features, but I was like, I really like Vidi Paz. I like Immortal Technique. I like my boy Dash, who we talked about. And let's get them on the record. So I collaborated with folks that I wanted to.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because even at that time with Dash, it was like he had just came off of Romeo and Juliet a while back, so he did that, and we were out hanging out in the Hamptons doing crazy shit back then,
Yeah, and then hip hop where it is now. I mean, it's incredible just how it's probably like one of the biggest music in the world. You know what I mean? Like all the different generations, the different styles, and the trap and the slower beats, all that stuff my son brings home, and different artists, and like he's turning me on to. It's crazy, man. It's just how far. Just, you know what I mean? It's incredible.
It's interesting to think how far hip hop has come to the point where, like, I know this guy, Dr. Elliot Gann. He goes by Philip Drummond, and we met in New York. He would come to nonfiction shows. Now he lives in the Bay Area. He's a doctor, psychologist, therapist, and he developed this curriculum that is a non-traditional mental health support for young people, so they make beats. It's a therapeutic beat-making program called Today's Future Sound. Students are learning, and you go back to the idea of hip-hop healing, right?
Yeah.
And it's true. It's like it does. Music heals.
It really does.
You know, on the flip side of it too, it's like, you know, if I get into some of the my theories in terms of like what's being allowed and what's being pushed out there is not necessarily the most. See, at a time when hip hop was coming out, it was the voice of the voiceless, the under-resourced, the marginalized populations, right? And you would have music coming out, you know, from, you know, Cold Crush Brothers, and you would have, you know, and even from even past that era, because I was young for that, but thinking about what KRS-One would talk about in Public Enemy, Eric B. and Rakim, you know, etc. And that, you know, at some point it became quote unquote dangerous. It's like, whoa, there's this evolution. There's this music that's popularized, right?
Yeah.
911 as a joke was on the radio, on prime time. And when you think about what that record was about, that Flavor Flav did, you know, it's wild. And
true,
and then at some point it pivoted, right? It's like, and again, thinking about, not to get preachy, but systemic and institutionalized racism and marginalization. It's like, okay, now I'm going to continue to push this music out here. And it doesn't necessarily reflect the, people may be like, who am I to talk? I'm talking as a way for hearing what young people, as we do surveys and inquiries with young people, some of their thoughts as well. Like, we're being introduced to this, and it is shaping the minds of young people. You know what I mean? Like you say, I can't blame music, but the truth is, you can't tell me KRS-One didn't influence me, right?
Yeah, man.
You can't tell me Mobb Deep wasn't in my playlist and in my headphones when I felt angry and I wanted to just go run and jog around the block.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The Quiet Storm to this day. You can't tell me that it didn't influence. So how can the other stuff, that drill or whatever else, and listen, young people, do what you do, but it is influential and it's intentional. There's a reason. There's a reason for it. Look how many, man, I said this in a rhyme. I remember how I felt when Scott LaRock got shot. I remember hearing about that.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, he died. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Think about how many young, talented artists have been killed and murdered recently.
It's true.
It's almost like it becomes the norm, and we're desensitized and numb.
Yeah.
It's wild, right?
Yeah.
And part of it is like what's happening out there. And, you know, again,
I'm drugs too, like the over drugs and the pills and all that. And
the flashing of money and knowing where you are, your location, because you're having to post it on the gram or whatever. And again, people are like, oh, you're so far removed, you know. Because no, I'm talking about, I work in communities.
That's what happened to the one guy
regularly.
who put where his location was on Instagram. I forgot his name. He sounds like 50 Cent. I think he was from New York. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And he put where he was at.
Pop Smoke.
Yeah, that was horrible. When I watched,
rest in peace. Canarsie.
I watched a Little Pump, not little, whatever his name is, Little Peep documentary. That was heavy with the drugs.
Yeah.
I just watched 2 other ones with my son. Just watched a XXX one.
Yeah.
Some heavy stuff.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. And it's a shame. I mean, even thinking about, and I forgive me, I don't remember his name, but there's a young prospect, a ball player that just was murdered in New York City, right? After, you know, being on vacation for a little bit.
Wow.
Right, like 3 nights ago. And it's just like, and then again, this is happening whether you're an artist or not. There's a lot lots of gun violence. And again, they just passed a law that, you know, they just talked about like guns being okay to carry now. So now it's crazy. And today they overturned Roe vs. Wade. It's like, are you kidding me right now? Like, this country's
going backwards and stuff.
Yeah. I don't want to get too much into
but as being a parent too, are you strict about the stuff that your kids listening to?
Yeah, we monitor. I mean, Marcus, he's 7, so he's still young. I mean, they'll listen to some stuff, and Lucas is being more exposed to like music because he doesn't have a phone, right?
Okay.
So it's like, you know, he's 11. We're thinking about 12 or when he goes to middle school, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of kids in his class have phones, and they're like, you know, he's coming home, you know, singing things that I know I've seen on TikTok. I'm like, how do you know about that? You know?
Yeah.
Because so it's just really having the conversations. You know, it's having those authentic. And you know, Toby, I say this all the time. And Karina, I tell, like in terms of even fatherhood or parenthood, like I think about you all the time in Max and how like it's building, knowing the boundaries of your father, and you can also be somewhat of a friend. You know, finding that balance. And
you have to.
My greatest accomplishment would be if I can have my kids trust me enough and respect me enough to share with me openly about anything that's going on.
It's so important. Communication is so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all you want. You just want them to like, you got to be the role model the best you can. You got to make them comfortable to tell you everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I have that with my son. We have a very open communication.
Yep.
and that bond, which
Absolutely.
it's super important.
Yeah.
Because growing up, we didn't have that. I grew up with no dad. You grew up with no dad. And having father figures in our life and those communications, those conversations, man.
Yep.
Because if you ain't the one, they're going to find somebody else to talk to. They may not be positive, but just anything.
Puberty's right here, man. Puberty's around the corner. It's in it. And I'm like, oh, here come the conversations.
I know. And now I think it's amazing how kids like Max, he'll be like, what is this song? And it'll be like a split second on TikTok. And I'll be like, that's Mobb Deep. And then he'll deep dive. Now he's like rocking my Mobb Deep shirt, listening to Mobb Deep all the time. Just from these random TikTok things. They're finding music that he's heard me play a million times that couldn't care less about it. But it's on TikTok, and it's like this trend, and he's... Yeah, that's incredible.
Beat Nuts. Shout out to the Beat Nuts. Juju Cycle Lesson them. They got one that's viral right now on TikTok.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, good for them.
Sagabo?
Oh, yeah, from back then.
Yeah.
Good for them because they are very underrated. Incredible albums. You know what I mean? Like, people probably even know where the J-Lo got that sample.
Yep.
Excuse me. All that.
Jenny
producers,
from the Block.
everything. Yeah, dude. Incredible, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a band who I wish... I know they get their props, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But I wish I could have seen them. I just feel like they'd be... up there with all the other greats. And they're great, but like Corona Queens.
We toured with them in the U.S. for a long time on a tour bus, and we toured with them in Europe. And when you see them on stage and they come out like we were in Oslo, Norway, Non Phixion Beat Nuts, and you'll see. They
go hard, right?
Crowd went crazy.
But they're still making music. Crazy. They're still doing all that, right?
Yeah. From what I know, and they're still touring. They get to do stuff, on and off. So
yeah, I love that. I love when like people like that are appreciated and they go on tour. I see Onyx are touring a lot.
Onyx I called Manu about the Ritual we visited that I'm going to put out soon, the re-release of the Ritual, and I was like, "What's up?" He was backstage with Onyx. They were in, I don't know, somewhere in Europe.
Yeah, they're killing over there
all the time. And
Jay with the Damager lives in Europe.
Oh yeah. I think he lives in Berlin. I think.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, he popped up at a show I did in Amsterdam back in what is it?
Yeah, he might have been in Amsterdam or something like that, or Copenhagen or something.
I think he either lives in Copenhagen or Berlin. I don't know. But
it's just
shout
so cool.
out to J-Ro.
Yeah, man, it's so cool seeing all these people still doing it. Still it's beautiful, man.
It is.
Because we're grown ups now.
Grown-ups,
but we're big kids too.
Oh man, I want to wear sneakers.
How old are you now? Are you 50 yet?
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
Almost. I'm 52, but yeah, I still rock sneakers. I'm not really looking for, but we still rock our. Yeah. I don't know, with hats and stuff. Can we wear baseball hats in our 50s? Are we cool?
Are you kidding me? I have to, or else my head will be burned.
Okay.
I've been rocking. It's funny. Around the Onyx time, I shaved my head. And then it just didn't start growing back the way I wanted it to. I had a mop. I had a red mop.
You had a nice red. Yeah, bro.
You
had that.
Yeah, I had a flat top at one point.
It was like Pete Nice vibes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, color me bad.
Dude, we used to have that. So you shaved down during that time.
Just kind of keep baldy, right? I rock a baldy and all that, and then it's all of a sudden.
You always had the beard though, like the nice lined up.
Yeah, chin strap. Yeah, a little bit. That's what Dash calls. He's like, "When are you gonna get rid of that chin strap?"
No, but that was like you still rock. Yeah, you look good. You're aging well, man.
Thanks, man. If I slept more, better. If I slept better,
that's the one thing. That's the takeaway from this pod.
Yeah. I'm going to
sleep more.
Absolutely.
You deserve. You have a wife. You have two kids. You bust your ass.
I work hard. I need to sleep more. It's a gift. It's a gift, right?
But listen, when you that really fucks up your immune system. I don't care how good you eat. If you work out, sleep can really affect your immune system.
I totally agree with that, and I wholeheartedly agree.
You take naps?
I don't, but when I do, like 10, 15-minute power naps.
Naps in your 50s is reality.
Nappuccinos,
like a 15-minute one, or people say it's healthy too.
Yeah. I drink coffee black. I became like a coffee snob. Back in New York, I would get a Dunkin' Donuts, whatever. Then moving out to the Bay Area, my boy Pascal told me how to do some pour-over coffee. That stuff that you would pay like $9 a cup. Okay. I do myself. So I find really great.
Rusty's like this.
Like total like these beans. Mostly I like Ethiopian beans, right? Roast. I
usually
do a medium black. I don't cook. I don't roast them at my crib. No, but I have the scale. I grind them accordingly. I put the beans to the measurements, the ratio of water, the temperature of water.
Damn,
it takes like maybe 4 or 5 minutes to do because I'm so used to it now. But I'm getting, myself and the beans that are organically grown and justified.
You just sounded like Action Bronson talking about some food he was about to make.
Bro,
your passion, your love for coffee.
My love for coffee. And I don't drink a lot of it. People think I drink it all day.
So how many cups a day?
1 cup a day, man, because it's good. And you know what's funny is Karina, she'll make fun of me because she's like, I want a mug. Where's my mug? I do small pours. Remember the blue cups, the Greek diner cups that says, thank you for coming? I have ceramic ones.
Sick.
So that's what I use.
That's some New York shit.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I drink it black, no cream, no sugar, none of that.
So people in the pod, we're going to finish this up, but I'll let you know that today started before you got here. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I'm on and off coffee. It's my love thing. I started maybe 2 years ago. I drank it for 1 month straight. It's the only drug I've ever put in my body. People call it a drug. It's not a drug. Whatever. It's not a drug. It's caffeine.
Yeah.
We can argue about that all night.
Sure.
Anyway, it makes me feel a certain way. Jittery. People know the deal. But before you came here, my son came home. I'd already drank my yerba mate, which I'm trying to wean myself off of coffee.
Yeah.
Because it's got natural. It's from the Amazon. It's from South America. My boy Derek got it for me.
The yerba mates.
Yeah, yerba mates. And it's got a lot of caffeine. And then my son brought home this coffee, and he just left it here and wasted it. And these coffees are like $6. So I took it, I put some ice on it, and I just started drinking it like around 1 o'clock. And then once I started feeling, then my friend Tim pulled up, I started feeling really anxious. Like I thought I was having a heart palpitation, and I'm a hypochondriac. And I hit my son up and said, yeah, those are 2 espressos. It was in there.
Yeah.
And I drank it, and I just felt like I had to go rush and get it for pounding water all day because you get dehydrated.
Yeah.
And it's just not a good feeling for me, man.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really work for my body, man. Some people like love. He's laughing. Some people love it and live by like you. The way you just spoke about it was like, was love.
It's an appreciation. It's like I'm a sommelier of coffee, and some people get that feeling. And I think that if you drink it at a certain time, like for me, like I don't even eat. I don't even do it intentionally, but it's called an intermediate fast.
I do it too.
There you
go.
That's my life,
bro.
Boom.
Eating like 2 or 3 in the afternoon.
That's it. I don't know if I can go that far, but usually what I do
almost once a day.
Here's my ritual. Like
Tell me.
I wake
That's
up.
One of my last
wake up in the morning.
Ritual?
Usually I'm up at like 7 o'clock or so. 6:45, give or take, get the kids ready for school, whatever we're gonna do, and then I do a glass of warm water with lemon, and sometimes a little apple cider vinegar, and that's been like that for the past 2.5 years, 3 years, every day of that. And then
what does that do for you?
It's just I feel like it cleanses me. I think like it helps my anything that I'm eating that might not be the healthiest. So I think I have a pretty good diet. Kind of breaks it down. It just
doesn't coffee
even
break it
mentally
down too, though?
Possibly, but even mentally, just drinking lemon in the morning before anything helps. And then before I put anything, so brush my teeth, drink that lemon water, and then I'll do my
like
fresh
that.
pour of coffee without any cream, any sugar, right? The ratios are important too, because if you do it too strong, that's when you're going to get those palpitations if it's blended. So I do 18 grams of beans coffee to 312 grams of water.
Okay.
And then
it's
a good
awesome.
blend. It's science. It's a science. And I have all types of beakers and stuff like that. Like Bach barista.
I know people do celery juice in the morning too.
That's good too. Yeah.
But
I don't eat anything solid till about 11 o'clock. And that's just I don't.
You get a pound water too for hydration.
Absolutely, pound my water. And again, there's days like if I'm waking up and Karina's making breakfast this Saturday, I'm gonna eat at 9 o'clock. But for the most part, especially during the weekdays, I don't eat till like 12.
So 1 coffee a day.
1 coffee a day. And if there's extra, maybe I'll do like just pour the extra, but it's 300 grams of water to 18 grams
so
of
it's
coffee.
strong ass coffee too, though.
Really good. Sorry, just burp.
Does it affect you? Can feel it making
Not that my mind. It's like it doesn't make me feel like I'm ready to. It just whatever coffee does, because obviously there's an addictive caffeine, But like Karina, she drinks matcha. Things like that.
Yeah, I like matcha too.
It's
there's caffeine in there too as well.
There is.
It's all moderation and balance on how you do it.
Exactly.
But for me, it's like drink it. Oh my god, I have to go to the bathroom. Then I'm dehydrated. Then I take a nap. Then I'm like fucking anxious.
Yep.
And I'm already a hyperactive human anyway.
Absolutely.
So this just adds to it. But my band are obsessed with it. They walk 10 miles in a small town in Germany, in a village, to find the perfect coffee shop they found online. Like they go every country.
Yeah.
And I think that's a cool thing. They go on their walks and get their coffee.
I do that,
It's a mission.
When I'm on tour, I do that.
Okay,
I've
so
done
you
that.
seek it out.
I started drinking coffee black because I was in Italy. We had just arrived. We got to the hotel. I was like, I'm going to go explore. This was years ago. And this guy was in the lobby, and I'll make this fast. He was in the lobby, had a suit on, had a baby in one hand, and a cigarette in the other. And I was like, ugh, gross, right? And he was drinking coffee, and he said something in Italian, and I speak a little bit of Italian, Sicilian dialect. He said, come here, sit down. You want cafe? I'll tell you where to go. And I was like, okay, cool. Long story short, pours the coffee. I said, you have cream? He was like, cream in the coffee? What are you doing? Work so hard to get the beans and to roast the beans, and you putting milk in the coffee.
Yeah.
He's like, why would you do that? So I drank it black.
Offended.
Now offended. Drink it black. Taste the notes. Taste it. So now when I buy coffee, like I literally can taste fig, cherry. Like I become accustomed to it, and it'll say these notes that are on the coffee.
Wow.
Yep. And I drink a lot of Red Bay coffee, which is a black-owned coffee out of Oakland, California.
Oh, nice.
Red Bay is dope.
Dude, this guy's all the people listen. I know there's a lot of coffee drinkers listen. You broke down like the love and the scientists.
Green Day got a good coffee as well. I haven't gotten much of it.
Band?
Yeah,
Green
the
Day?
band Green Day. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. I think it's roasted out of Oakland.
Dude, so last story. My wife went to Italy. She was at a friend's house. They made this amazing dinner, all this pasta, and then everybody was eating it. And my wife took out a knife, started cutting, and they stopped and started screaming. Said, "You can't cut the pasta.
No.
You can't cut the pasta.
No.
It's like it's disrespectful."
No, very.
That's the same shit as your coffee.
Same as eating pizza with a fork and a knife. What you got to do when you eat pasta, spaghetti, especially, you got a spoon or a piece of bread, and you poke the spaghetti and you twist the fork till it curls up into a nice ball, and then you eat it. No, you don't cut the pasta. Damn. Even basil, if you ever cut basil, you don't just break it apart. You don't chop it unless it calls for it. Anyway, we can get into a whole food thing as well.
This has been awesome. And can we expect any new nonfiction or our show? Never say never. It was supposed to happen this weekend.
Yeah, it was supposed to happen this weekend. Some things came up with the guys at the Back to Basics Festival. They're talking about bringing us back in the fall.
Yeah.
And then we are scheduled to do a European thing because Europe and Australia and South America has been our biggest audience. You know, the States too, but mostly overseas. Probably in the fall as well. So we'll see what happens. I'll have to just work that out with work because I have responsibility. You know what I mean? And I have
you're like a grown adult with a wife and 2 kids and but it's
but it'll work out. We'll work it out.
It's great to have you here and finally
Thanks,
talk to you and catch
you too,
up.
Toby.
I love that we stayed in touch with this. And then also I came to your school in 2012.
Yeah.
Spoke at your school. I really appreciate you having that.
You were awesome, and the students still talk about it. I mean, they're grown now. Those students, believe it or not, they're like, but they come back and I'll see them. And the teacher who was there at the time still talks about it. My sister-in-law, you went to speak at my sister-in-law's school. Absolutely, they were super inspiring.
Me and like taking the chance and believing in me and all that.
Yeah, man. I remember we met at M Cafe to talk about some of the ideas about speaking with young people. And
before I started doing it.
Yeah.
That was at Encinal High School and then
Chipman Middle School. Now it's called the Academy of Alameda.
Yeah, but that was so cool to come out there. I think Millhouse came with me. That was super fun.
Yeah. You rocked it, man. It was super inspiring. I mean, you were exactly who you are and spoke your truth. And that's that. Young people can read between the lines. They read the bullshit, and they felt it from you. It was like it wasn't bullshit. It was real.
Thank you, man. I can't wait to do it again. Lots
Remember they all put X's on their hands?
Yeah, dude.
They were like, I want to be straight edge. I'm straight edge.
It was awesome, though.
It was great.
I miss doing that in the pandemic, obviously, but people still hit me up about it. Like, I want to get back to it sometime.
Yeah.
And when kids get back to school, so much virtual back and forth to school, who knows? But
we should have a Nana reunion soon too. Shout out to Yolanda Ross.
Shout out to Yolanda Ross. Killing it on the chai. So proud of you. Love that show. Love you. She's on the pod already. Just watching her journey. Yeah. It's been incredible.
I love hearing her stories about Daryl Hall and John Oates.
Yo, how much she loved them. I mean, she was obsessed with them.
I loved them. I loved them as well. If I knew about Yolanda, I was like, what?
And guess what happened since the podcast? She was in town. They were playing. I got us tickets.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Derek and Yolanda went and saw. We had like a Rose Bowl section. We got to see them.
Oh, my God.
It was amazing.
Karina and I saw them at San Francisco at Outside Lands. And it was like on a bucket list. And we were fortunate to get backstage passes because we saw Chromeo. And
you got to meet them?
No. Dude. But we got to enjoy the show.
It was an incredible show. His voice sounds good. Woo. It was like... It was cool to be there with Yolanda and Derek because we just talked about her obsession with them.
I can't believe that happened afterwards.
But just seeing her on the show, her shaving her head, just everything she's going through on the show.
You know, and Yolanda, when you think about, and shout outs to Danny Diablo Isaac. He was working at Nana Forge Store when he was doing Crown of Thorns.
That's right.
Dude, think about what came out of that store, right?
Yeah.
And Danica and Christine and everyone for believing in artists.
Isaac worked there with us.
He did. Yeah. It's crazy, right? It was like Yolanda, who's now on the Shy, you H2O, me nonfiction, Isaac Crown of Thorns, and everyone else who went off to do amazing stuff. And Sam, remember Sam? Drummer. Yeah. So he worked at Nana.
Wait, Sammy Siegler?
Yeah.
What?
He worked at Nana. Yeah, dude.
Wow, he's playing with 7 Seconds now.
That's right.
He's a judge. Shelter, Youth of Today. Why, I didn't realize Sammy worked there, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Lots of artists. Yeah.
It's cool we're still in contact with each other. Thanks to social media and everything else too. Like watching each other, what everybody's up to, and
I appreciate you, Toby. I got so much love for you, and
Ditto,
I love periodically I receive a package at my house. And what is this? And it's like some random gift that I'm like, oh, Toby looked out. It's like Christmas. It's like, oh.
No, I remember the pandemic. Like, yo, I'm not going to be able to get your guest for like your gift for like a day or two. We let it outside. That was in the
deep in the pandemic. I was like, I'm not touching any packages.
Spraying that
out
shit
there.
down.
I'm like, nope, it's going to stay in the shed. I'm not touching it.
Years ago, it was so gnarly.
It was.
You're like, sorry, bro, I haven't the package. It's outside, airing out.
Yep, crazy. And then I avoided it and ended up getting it in March. And I'm like, oh, this year. It's like, oh,
you're all good now,
yeah.
But still, that was crazy during that time.
Yeah, it was crazy. Woo.
Well, mad love to you, bro. Thanks for being here.
Toby. I appreciate
People can find
it,
you online. What can they find? Anything you're up to?
If you want to, I guess if anything, on the most active, it's going to be Instagram.
Yeah,
the
but he's
most
not going to
active,
He's not going to check his DMs.
Yeah, exactly. But definitely not. But it's all good. But it's John Sabac Red Fuentes. People like, that's a long, but JOHN SABACRED Fuentes FUENTES.
Yeah, the non-fiction music's everywhere online.
Yep. So is Sabac. I mean, Sabac stuff was more readily available, but you can YouTube and whatever. Yeah, man.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for being here.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
I'm sorry it conked out for a second.
Oh, no worries.
That was so weird. Tim House, thanks for being here too, Tim House.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, you got me hyped on coffee now. I might think about maybe, investing in something, maybe doing it right.
If you want, I'll do a tutorial for you. I did it with a couple of friends of mine. I get on FaceTime or we'll get on Zoom and I'll show you how to do it.
Maybe that's something you should put online.
I should. I probably should do that.
Sabac Red tutorial about coffee.
I should.
Because the way you broke it down was like really like, fuck, this is like love.
And a lot of people do it, but they do it at coffee shops and they charge you $7, $8 a cup of coffee. And I do it like straight up.
What about working out? You work out too?
A little bit. We got the bench in the garage. I work out with my son. He's into working out a little bit now. Ride out bikes a lot.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
All right, well, awesome, bro.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Toby. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Shout out to Moon and Max. It's good to be back in the crib.
Dude,
it's been a while.
I'm psyched to see you perform too, man. This
Thanks,
week.
man.
I'm not going to say the date because on this airs, but it's going to be cool,
sure.
man.
Yeah, man. Thanks, brother. Peace.
I always ask my guests if they have any regrets. I personally don't have any regrets. Even when it comes to my tattoos. I have the silliest tattoos. Even my ET on my leg, it's still a childhood memory for me, and I love it. I've had tattoos on top of tattoos strictly because I wanted more tattoos. I started getting tattoos when I was 18. I'm 52 now, and I can't stop. I've had laser treatment before on something on my arm. It's 4 tattoos on top of each other. And that experience at that place was pretty fast. It was pretty cold. It was in and out, swiped the credit card. Don't really tell me much. Didn't give me much details or anything was going to happen. So I never went back. So as of most recently, I'm so lucky enough to have had 2 sessions at Removery Tattoo Removal. My tattoo on my arm that looks like a big black blob is now super light. I've had 2 sessions. I have a long road ahead of me. None of this stuff happens overnight. You cannot take a tattoo up in one sitting. You have to be patient. And it's painful. They ice you up. It's super fast. To me, it felt like a bunch of rubber bands. But what's more painful than that is looking at something on your body that you think you're stuck with for the rest of your life. That sucks. But now for me, I'm really happy I started this journey. I'm slowly going to get this tattoo removed. I never thought in a million years I have any kind of real estate on my arm. I don't even know what I want, but it's exciting. I'm so honored to announce that One Life, One Chance podcast is now with Removery. I have a code. Use TobyH20 and get $100 off your first session. Call 866-934-4570 or go to removery.com. One of the most experienced tattoo removal companies in the world. Over 600,000 removal treatments done. 100 locations, U.S., Canada, and Australia. State-of-the-art peak-away laser technology, cryotechnology to reduce any discomfort. This is so exciting for me because all I do in these podcasts is talk about tattoos. From day one, if you've been listening to this podcast, talk about tattoos, talk about getting removed, talk about getting covered up. So this is such a perfect fit for me. Once again, go to removery.com or call 866-934-4570. Use my code TobyH20 and get $100 off. These guys are located everywhere. Try it out. Yo, people always ask me what kind of frames I'm rocking. I've been rocking Caddis for a couple years. They make amazing progressive readers, which I wear. Also, they make sunglass readers, anti-glare, anti-smudge coating, anti-scratch, and anti-aging. That's why I look mad young when I wear them. I'm just kidding. But they make amazing frames. Caddis, so stoked to have you guys part of the podcast. You can go to caddislife.com/Toby10 and get $10 off your first purchase. Stoked. Thank you, Caddis. Welcome to the fam.